I'm on my meeting, gorgeous. It starts at 6. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Hey everybody, how's it going tonight? Can you guys hear me? Everybody can hear me? Alrighty, sounds good. We'll get going here in about a minute or two. So guys, it's not quite 6. We got 5:58 according to my watch here. All right. I'm gonna try to put up a couple things, make sure my screen sharing stuff is working here. Hopefully you guys will be able to see some stuff here. Let me see here. Let's see. All right, you guys can see what I got up there right now, hopefully, right? Give me a little thumbs up or something, or tell me. You can always come off mute if you need to.
We can see it.
All right, sounds good. All right. Oops. So I'm also going to be trying to do a little video here and there. I might have one that we do a little bit later, and hopefully that'll work. I think I should be able to have it with sound coming through on your end and stuff. So I see a lot of people are on mute, which is great, but always feel free to come off of mute if you have a question or comment about something. We want to try to make this as interactive as we can. Makes it a lot more interesting. You know, if you're sitting there and you got your favorite beverage or you're doing your thing, that's all great. But try to be engaged as much as possible. That makes it, well, not as much boredom coming through, I guess. Hopefully I'm not going to bore you, but this can be a little dry if we don't have some interactiveness happening. Like last week, I know it went a little bit long and stuff, but the thing is, it's good when we got people asking questions or making comments and stuff, right? That's kind of what we want, because we're just talking about umpiring and trying to figure things out and get a little bit better. All right, so the things I've got kind of planned for tonight, which always when I'm gearing this up, I'm gearing it more for the brand new guys up through the first, second, maybe third year guys. But even if you're a veteran and you've been around, it's always good to hear some stuff and kind of make sure you have things in your mind for how you might handle things, even if it's kind of going back to the basics a little bit. So we're going to talk about communication with partners and schools and stuff, and pregame type things. Because those are things that newer umpires don't always quite know how to do. Nobody's really told them. I mean, you can look things up, but it's nice when somebody tells you. So that's part of what we try to do for our rookies. This is supposedly a rookie meeting, but to me, it's just newer umpire meeting, right? And then hopefully we're going to get into basic umpire signals. That's our other goal for tonight, so that we are using some uniform signals while we're on the field. All right, so that's our main focus. Pre-pitch type stuff and everything. Now on the canvas, which is what I've got called up here, hopefully you guys have been able to get on there and interact with some things and do some of the quizzes. I have noticed I do check to see what people are doing. I'm not like, I'm a teacher, but I'm not like grading you necessarily, but it's grading you. And I can see the percentages. I see who's doing what, it tells me things like how much, you've been looking at things and what percentage and your interactive level and things like that. And I don't know, I just look to see who's doing what, just for whatever, those things kind of matter, just see if you're trying to do that. So if you aren't on the Canvas page for some reason or another, make sure you send me an email sometime. We'll make sure we'll get you on it. If you're having some issue with it at some point, let me know and I'll try to help you out with that too. Okay, so this is the stuff I'm looking at. See, we got right under game day. We've got right under game day, we've got game management. Hold on here. Working with others right here, communicating with your partner. These two main things right here. A couple of those there, and then our umpire communication and signals and stuff down here. That's what we're looking at. All right. So communicating with your partner. Let's get to that. Here we go. I got a little page here for you on that. Okay, so assignment calendar. I know Vanderlaan is having some issues with people not accepting assignments or declining them and things like that. Hopefully it's nobody on this call. But there are some issues that are out there with people that are just they're not really taking their calendar into consideration and blocking things and doing what they need to do. So that's part of your communication with your partner, school, us, assigners, those kind of things. So we talk about this every year, and sometimes that's not always happening. All right. So make sure you're taking care of that kind of business. So we'll move away from that. I mentioned that a little bit last week too. Confirm. We have a thing we started doing last year where we try to confirm with the home team, the school, maybe with the athletic secretary or athletic director, that you have a particular game. You know, it's a 4:15 game on a Thursday at Grand Rapids Calvin Christian, and you confirm that it's there with the school so they know it's all good and there wasn't some kind of change. And also, more importantly, with your partner, right? Especially if you don't know your partner. Now, sometimes you know your partner and it's all good, but still, it's a good idea to make sure, hey, I'm going to be there about this time. And, you know, if it's a single game, you know, who's working the plate, who's working the bases, those kind of things. We have on our arbiter, you know, like umpire 1, umpire 2, but it's really kind of up to the umpires, who's working what spot. Okay. Um, if nobody makes a decision, then I guess whoever is umpire 1 is working the plate. Okay, if you can't come to a decision, that's like a coin toss, I guess. But remember, you want to work as many plates as you can. I know plates tough around people, and you know things can happen, but you move up and you prove yourself by working the plate. So when you have the opportunity, don't be a plate dodger, you know, because that's what we call guys that don't ever want to work the plate, right? So make sure you're doing that and you know, talking to your partner. So we have that about a week before. I mean, this is a week. I mean, I say definitely at least 24 hours, maybe to 2 to 3 days before. Sometimes a week's a little bit much, but that's good if you can do that. You can call, text somebody. Email's kind of out of fashion now. Guys don't always check that, but I frequently will text people. Like, hey, I'm look forward to working with you on this such and such day at this school. I'll be there about this time. And then, like, frequently, if I don't know what's going on, I'll just give people a choice. Do you want the plate or do you want the bases or whatever? You know, and I'll let them choose what they want to do. All right.
Hey,
Because a lot
Ken.
of times I don't care. What's up, Dave?
So one of the useful tools is using an Arbiter mobile. It's got a feature in there, text all partners. So it's
Mhm.
real easy for you to do that, but that also requires that you've got your cell phone number that's textable loaded in Arbiter. We have had some times where somebody put a home phone number in and that doesn't work so well. So if on the Arbiter, make sure you've got your number that you're going to get in contact with, you know, as you're in transit to the game. That works out pretty good. Just text all partners and, hey, I'm driving a blue Chevy. I'll meet you at 4:15. You got the plate for the first one.
Yes. Some people are different and they would rather have the first plate or the second plate if you're working a doubleheader. Obviously, if you're working doubleheader, both guys got a plate. Like if I'm working with Vanderline, he likes to have the plate the second game, which is perfect because I like having the plate the first game if I have a choice. You know? But a lot of times I'll be like, whatever you want, I'll just do it. I like going and I like knowing what I'm doing when I'm driving to the game. All right. I don't know about you guys, but I like, you know, there's a little bit different mindset if you're working the plate than if you're working the bases, right? So I like to kind of know, I don't want to just get there and wing it. That's not good. I don't like that. So there you go. But no matter what, even if it's a single game, you got to make sure that you're prepared to jump on the plate if needed. All right. Your partner might get hurt. Maybe something else happens. Maybe he's late. I've had that happen before where like the guy's supposed to work the plate and for whatever reason he gets caught in traffic or he's just being irresponsible or something and he's not there. And it's like 15 minutes before the game. And I'm like, all right, guess I'm strapping on the gear here. I'm just gonna go work this thing by myself and see, hopefully this guy shows up. Right? I've had that happen before. You can't just go, well, forget it. He was supposed to work to play. I guess we're not playing. No, that's that's not the way we'll do it. All right. Somebody's got to do it. And if that's the way it is, you know, that sucks. And now if the guy doesn't show up, then you get, you know, extra pay and stuff like that. And we'll work all that stuff out. But you got to do what you got to do. All right. Make sure the game goes on because we are all contracted to do those games. Okay. Packing your bags and stuff the night before, that's another thing there. Make sure all your equipment's in good order before you go to the game, right? Obviously, your uniform's in good condition, not looking like they're just getting pulled out of the back seat. And believe me, there's guys that do that kind of stuff, right? You clean your shoes off so they don't have a bunch of dust and stuff like that all over them, and make sure you have everything that you need, all right? It's also good for guys that work certain jobs. You know, there's opportunities that always pop up during the day. You might be at work and maybe you're getting off a little bit early and you could do a game in the afternoon. You could do a 4:30 or 4 o'clock game or something. And myself or Vanderlaan might, text you, call you, communicate with you, or there might be an email that comes through saying, hey, we need somebody at this school. And, you might be thinking, if I would have put my stuff in the car, maybe I could have done that, right? Well, if you just kind of are prepared in case something pops up, then, you can grab those things, all right? Especially if you're far away from, your work is far away from your house, okay? So keep those things in mind too. All right, getting there. Luckily, we have lots of different I'll get your question in just a second, Scott. I see we got your hand up, but okay, we'll get you in just a second, buddy. Make sure you know how to get to a certain spot, especially if you don't know. Maybe your partner does know how to get there, or where you park, because some of these schools, things are a little quirky around them, and where the baseball field is and things like that. Luckily, we have Google Maps and all kinds of map things out there that help us get there. But if there's any question, make sure you kind of plan ahead and see how long it's supposed to take you to get there. How long should you get there? You should get there at least 30 minutes before the game. That's, a typical high school thing. I like to get to a high school game at least 45 minutes personally. All right. I don't really do an hour for a high school game because I feel like there's a lot more sitting around in my car, but 45 minutes is pretty good, especially if it's a partner I haven't worked with and we need to do a pregame. All right, Scott, you had your hand up, so come off mute and let me know what you got going on, man.
Yeah, just a little clerical question. If we have a blocked off day, but then that day opens up for us and we know early in the morning, would you like a text in the morning, say, hey, I'm available, or is that just too much?
Well, you can undo the block, right? That.
Okay.
So what you should do is just make sure you undo the block, because then you would show available. I mean, it's always good
Okay.
to have a text or communicate with your assigners in case something were to happen. Because like if you said, hey, it's something, I'm not scheduled today and I just cleared my block. If something pops up, I'm available. Well, that keeps me, I mean, if I'm like, oh, this guy wants to work a game today, if I got something, oh, what do you know? I got something. I will. I mean, I'll send a game to somebody, if I feel like you're equal with this other person and there you go, you wanted to work, boom, I can get that game filled. Because otherwise I've got to like contact somebody. And usually for me, I'm teaching, so I got to text somebody, hey, can you work this game over at this place? And I got to wait. And then they're like, oh no, I'm tied up. I got to work late. Okay, great. Now I got to go on to the next person. But if I know right away, I got somebody that can go do it, that just solves my problem right there. So it's actually a good thing. All right.
Okay.
But you can clear your blocks in Arbiter yourself, assuming it's not a block that you had put on there because you declined a game. If you decline a game on a date, it blocks the whole date for like everything, baseball and softball, all levels. It just automatically puts that on there because, well, you declined it. You said you couldn't work that day, so it just blocks it. Can assigners unblock that for you? We can, but I usually don't because you already declined the game, unless there's some particularly good reason to do that. You can't unblock it. All right, it's just automatic through WMUA. So Chris Calkins, assigns over there by the lakeshore. If you declined a WMUA game, you should show available under his Arbiter because it's a different account. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's all part of Arbiter. So that's how that kind of works. Good question, though. Any other questions or comments before we move on here? Okay. So that's some communication stuff. It's really important to make sure you're communicating with your partner more than anything. I know we started this new thing last year with the schools, and I think that's good. But if you didn't do the school thing and you only did the partner thing, that's way better. If you don't communicate with your partners, but you're always communicating with the schools, I don't think that's so good. All right. This partner is way more important, knowing what's going on there. Plus, when you're driving over there, man, you want to feel confident that the other guy's showing up. He's going to be there ready to go, and we're going to get this game going, and we're going to do a good job. Right. And so you don't want to be like, oh, I hope this guy shows up. That's the worst feeling in the world. Where is he? He says he's parked over here. I've had that too, where a guy parks on like the other side of the school or something. And then you can't talk. And then you're like, I don't want to move my car. I already got my stuff here. So make sure you know where you're going to park together and all that kind of stuff. Because I know we try to get like lineups and all that, or not locker rooms and stuff like that. But that doesn't really happen too often. It's really hard to do. So you pretty much have to just assume a bit that you're going to be changing out your car. Right? That's what it is. Okay, so there's that. Let's look at the next thing I got here. Let's see here. game management. Okay. Pre-game outline. So you get there. They have this. I think this is one from the MHSAA. You get there at the pregame. It's good to make sure that somebody, one of you, tells the coach, the head coach, or if there's an AD there, hey, we're here. We'll be ready to go here. We'll be, maybe you're coming out 10, usually it's 10 minutes for high school before whatever the schedule for its pitch is. All right. Tell them we're here, changing, we'll be here. So they know too. I mean, I'm sure coaches, they'll be looking around. They'll be like, that umpire's here, especially the sub-varsity guys, because they don't know, they're like looking in the parking lot. Yeah, it looks like they're over there. Okay. They want to know they got a couple guys there because, they can't play if we don't have it. So it's good to tell them that too. But we don't want to get ready so early and then hang out there while they're taking infield, outfield, and everything else. Okay. We don't need to do that. Actually, that's not good at all because people are going to start coming and talk to you. It's just not good. We don't need to be there. We just need to be there right before we need to go and have the plate meeting. That's it. All right. Go over there before and tell them you're there and then take off and go back and talk to your partner. All right. So confirm the start time. And then in your pregame, especially if it's somebody you haven't worked with, you go through any rule changes or the point of emphasis, which we'll be talking about in the general meeting, and any positioning types of things. Those are things we're going to talk about. If they have a national anthem, hopefully people know how the Warriors supposed to stand for the national anthem, but I'll talk about that like maybe next Wednesday when we're, and also in the clinic, we can maybe mention that stuff. So what did we basically go through? Well, this has got the little outline, but this is what I do. I'm just going to tell you. All right. And I like to have at least some kind of pregame with anybody I work with. Okay. I mean, I don't care how many times I've worked with them and how good we maybe think we are at 2-man or whatever we're working. All right. So if they don't say, hey, let's have a little pregame here. Okay. And so we talk, okay. Let's say I'm working the bases and the other person's working the plate. All right. So if I get a trouble ball, when I'm in A, I'll go out here, but it's, if it's, fair foul, catch, no catch situation, or, trouble, I'll be out and you've got the batter runner all the way to third base. And if he goes for an inside the park home run, I get him back at the plate. Okay, boom, we got that. Then I usually like to talk about how if we get a ball right on top of first base, right in that area, and remember we got fair foul up to the front edge of the bag if you're the home plate umpire. But sometimes those are tricky. You get kind of caught with fielders and runners and stuff around there. I said, if you see me like give that up to you and I just cut in toward the mound, toward the infield, then you just take that. Okay, so I like to make sure I talk to them about that because if I feel like everything's coming down on top of me, I'm going to get the heck out of there. All right. And 2-man, I think that's important. So I mentioned that. Then we talk about what we have in B and C. Well, the big thing there is, of course, who's got catch, no catch, and fair foul. Well, obviously, if you're inside, plate umpire's got fair foul for everything. And I'd like to make sure the guy knows that, hey, if those corner guys are moving toward the lines, you got it. But I'll pretty much, I take everything out. Center fielder everywhere. Guys coming straight in, left and right fielders moving toward their gaps. I got all that stuff. All right. But help me out and get my touch at first base because technically that's still mine. But I'm not going to be looking at that. I'm going to be trying to see if the guy catches the ball. All right. And I might like turn my head, but I'm not going to see it. All right. So, we usually don't have a problem with that, but usually that's what I do with that. Then we talk about signals. Right. So we always are pointing where we're going. So if and how many outs? So no outs. So like I'm pointing toward first, or the plate umpire is pointing toward, third base, right? So no outs, 1 out, 2 outs, right? And then if we have time play, we do that. I usually do infield fly, whatever it might be that we're using, right? So we go through our different signals, which we'll get to in a few minutes as well. All right. We talk about check swings, right? My MO on that is just give me whatever you got, or I'll give you what I got if I'm working the bases. If you come to me, if I think it's a swing, I'm not going to like try to guess what you want it to be or what you're hoping. If I think he swings, I'm going to get it. If not, then I won't. And if somebody complains about it, then I'm going to give them a ball strike warning because it's balls and strikes. Because there's nothing more annoying than if a guy checks a swing, you go and you're like, no. And they're like, oh, hey, we're not doing that. Okay. All right. So we talk about that stuff. Then we talk about what else we got. I've kind of forgot, backtracking to A position for a second, pull foot swipe tag, I need my partner helping me out with that. All right, if I get a ground ball and something happens, guy gets pulled off, help me with that stuff. They also can help me out with B and C position if they're coming up the line there for that as well. Third base umpire or the home plate umpire, best thing he can be doing is covering third base for you in 2-man when you got a ball to the outfield. And so what I want, whether I'm working the plate or if I'm on the bases, I only expect the plate guy to be there if the ball is like on the outfield grass area. All right. If there's like a runner on first and the guy lays down a bunt and the guy on first is pretty fast and he's trying to go first or third on this bunt as they're throwing at the first base, I'm going to get the out at first base. I'm going to come across the back of the working area behind the mound, and I'm going to get third base. I don't expect my partner to be there. I expect my partner to be up the line in case he pulls his foot or there's a swipe tag or something like that, and he can help me with that. Now, in our mechanics manuals and different ones, and the way they might also teach it in pro school and such, they sometimes have the plate umpire helping out at third base. But I think in high school baseball, that's not the best situation. All right. All right, so those are the basic things I talk about. We talk about who's got touches. The other thing is how we handle people. Coaches in particular, if somebody comes out to ask a question, we make sure we have them at the 45. We make sure that if they want us to get together or we decide to get together, that we send them back where they came from, whether that be the dugout or their coach's box. We're not going to stand there and talk about it while they're standing there, okay? So we talk about those things. Talk about how we handle dugouts and buckets and all that kind of stuff and make sure we're handling the dugouts the best we can so people are being sportsmanlike, right? If we happen to have ejection, we talk about that as well, you know, and how you handle that situation. And that's it. That's my basic thing that I would go through every single time. All right. And I know like I've got this kind of big outline here. So for guys that are maybe taking notes or doing whatever, you know, you can kind of look at that and do that yourself. And you can certainly call up your canvas and look at it a little more detail if you want to. Does that make sense? Or I know I've got a few veteran guys on here too. Anything else that you think I'm missing or that should be added, or just questions from my newer guys that about this kind of thing? These are things that's why we get there at least a half an hour early, get ourselves dressed. We might be dressing as we're talking about this stuff and make sure we go through it every time. All right. Sometimes in a little more detail than others, but there's at least some kind of conversation about it before every game. That's what we should do. All right. What do we think?
Hey, Kev.
Hey,
Whoever wants to talk first. I don't know who it was.
this is Dave Turner. I was just going to say one of the things I like to cover with the head coaches at the plate meeting, or maybe with my partner before we go to the plate meeting, is that we only talk to the head coach.
Yes.
You get a lot of times the first base coaches is the assistant coach or something, and they want to chime in all the time. So just let them know we're only going to talk to the head coach, so we don't get conflicting information going back to the bench if if the assistant coach wants some information or something. So just reiterate, we only talk to the head coach.
Yes. And that's definitely something to pregame. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say that at the plate meeting. I mean, you could, but I don't, because it's kind of the rules, right? I certainly, if I'm working the bases and I get a first base coach that thinks he's the head coach and he's trying to question everything and, you know, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And we've all maybe had those kind of guys. And if you haven't, you will. I mean, I'm nice to the guy. If he's nice to me, I'll tell him my name, I'll shake his hand, and, you know, we'll, say, hey, it's a nice weather or it's crappy weather or something like that. And then we get to work. But if he starts questioning stuff, I'll be like, hey, and my first question to him is, are you the head coach? And or the answer is no. Then why are you asking me this? You don't ask me this stuff. And that's usually all I need to do. But if he continues, then, you might have to give warnings. Of course, you could restrict him to the dugout or just eject him. I mean, I've had that stuff with, like there's a close play at first or whatever, and they're trying to come out and talk to you. No. Especially like, let's say it ends the inning, it's a close banger play at first base, and you call him out, and, you're going out to short right field like you should be between the innings, and he wants to walk out there. No. You know, we stop him, we get the stop sign up. Stop sign's always a good thing. Tell him he's not the head coach. We're not doing that. If you're gonna come out here, you're gonna get ejected. All right. So we don't talk to the head coaches or the assistant coaches. You know, it's just the head coach if there's a question. If they want to appeal something or they think he pulled his foot off or something, and you get that assistant coach to say, hey, John can talk to me. And then you let John come over and you say, he's like, hey, can you ask him if maybe he pulled his foot? All right, yeah, go back to your coach's box. Let's go talk. And then you do it. All right. You don't ever do it through the assistant coach. So good point there. Hedges, you were going to say something?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, can you talk about chatting between the innings and getting together with your partner and how that should look, or do that or don't do that? And then the last thing is just to have a plan and walk off the field together all the way to your car. Always make
Yes.
sure you know where you're going, and you've got to come on the field together and you got to go off the field together. And depending on the situation with the home or the visiting team, you might decide how to choose where you're going to go, but have a signal, have a plan. You can talk to those.
Yes, I'll get the second one first there. So yeah, definitely gotta go off together. We shouldn't have some guy almost all the way to his car while the other guy's trying to toss the baseballs back and a bunch of people are yelling at him. I mean, I don't care if your partner did a crappy job and missed a bunch of calls, you still gotta have his back and get off the field with him. All right. If there's one, you know, you were gonna go out the first base dugout and that team just had a crap game and everything went sideways for them, and you were going to go out that dugout, if you can, go out the other dugout. There's nothing wrong with that. And you might have a little meeting at some point just before the end of the game, like an inning or so before. Hey, when this thing's over, we're going out that way. All right. I don't care if we got to walk a little bit. I've done that before. All right. I mean, you don't need to. I mean, there's some people that like to walk by there and like give crap back to people. You don't need to do that. Just get the heck out of there. Get back to your car. All right. And get out of there. So talking to your partners. It's okay to talk to your partners if it's needed. It should be very minimal. All right. We don't talk every inning and chit chat about whatever crap is going on. Also, if you do happen to have close plays or things like that, it doesn't look good. It looks like you're just talking about that. So if you do have some kind of crazy kind of thing, it's good to wait an inning at least. And then you can do the universal kind of like cross your arms, you know, Black Panther style, and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you for a second. And then, you know, talk for a minute and keep it short and simple, and then whatever you need to talk about. But it shouldn't happen very often. It doesn't look good. All right. And there are some higher ups, like you know, college baseball, for example, like Rich Fetcher, who signs almost all the D1 stuff around here. If he comes and sees you doing that, he might not give you games down the road. I mean, he hates that. All right. If he's watching D1 guys on TV, you know, like he assigns the Big Ten, and he sees them talking between every inning, and he's going to be asking about it. All right. So it does not look good. Keep it very minimal. I'm not saying not to do it. There's times and places that it's appropriate, but it's very far. It's okay if you go the whole game and you don't go talk to your partner. Some guys are like, what? No, that's okay. All right. I mean, I've done it, and hopefully you can, and things just go smoothly. You don't need to talk about anything. You can talk about it after the game. You know, if you're in the field, you can keep, you know, a little lineup things so keep track of conferences and stuff, some kind of paper and something to write with. And if you got something you need to talk to your partner about that you think you might forget, then just jot it down on there, and then you can talk about it later. All right. Only talk if it's really needed. If I come and watch you and I see you're talking too much and like every inning, I'll be, what are you doing? Right now, if it's a veteran guy working with like a first year guy, and that's okay, because sometimes you need to talk, you know, maybe the guy's struggling with something or a strike zone, and you're like, okay, hey, why don't you try this? That's okay. That's a little bit different. But if it's two kind of equal guys, no, keep it minimal. All right. Hopefully that answers that. All right. Anything else with this stuff, guys? Moving right along here. All right. So we got communicating with your partner in school. We got this little pregame thing here. Let me see what else I got here. I just want to show you that. Game management 101. Is that what I have there? What was that? Oh, we got I got a little batting out order thing that you can check out on your own. I'm not going to show you that today here. Is this the one I had on before? I think it was. No, right here. Yeah, game management. Okay, so I'm going to move people out of the way here. There we go. Okay, our objective, of course, is to ensure a a fair game, and the rules are followed, and we try to maintain order and have things safe for people. You guys can all see this, right? Hopefully, right? And so we represent the league and association, WMUA when we're out there. So we're trying to do everything the right way and consistently, all right? Because we have other people that we, hold us accountable, right? Okay, so we talked about these things already. Arrival times, uniforms, parking, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you talk about that beforehand, and you mentally prepare to do whatever it is you got to do for that game, whether you're working the bases or the plate, or you're working doubleheader. You got to do both, right? And you're physically ready to go too. You ate something, you stretch out if you need to, you got some sleep, you make sure you drink enough water if it's hot out, all those kind of things. All right. Make sure you bring rule books with you just in case you need to reference them, or an outline for pregame stuff, or the this thing, what you call it, the preseason guide. And those things, those are good things to have in your umpire materials there in case you need to do that. All right, so communication. If you are working the plate, we want a strong plate meeting, a to-the-point plate meeting, which we'll talk about a little more in detail here in a minute. But you don't want to be wasting time. You don't want to be talking about things you don't need to talk about. We'll talk about plate meeting a little bit later. All right. Try to address the coaches by the first name. If you don't know their first names, then get them. Write them on your lineup card. If you are working the bases, you could write it down if you think you might forget. It's good if they address you by your first name and you address them by the first name. You don't want to be called Blue, because now you're not like a person. You're just a color, okay? And it's a lot easier to yell at Blue than it is to yell at Dave, all right? And you also want to, if you say, like, is Dave Van Ord over there at Hudsonville? Dave, hey, what we got here? Or whoever it might be, you address them by the first name. Everything the communication just works better. So make sure you do that. You can look up coaches' names. You can go on the MHSAA website under their school, and usually will say who the head coach is. And you can write it down. And sometimes if you show up and you really maybe have never worked a game for them, and it's Joe, and you're like, hey, Joe, how you doing? And he's like, okay, cool. This guy knows my name. I don't remember him. And, that kind of throws them off. That's okay. All right. So you can do that. If you look up their names ahead of time, do that. I always look up coaches' names, whether it's a high school thing, if I can, and definitely for collegiate games I work. I look at coaches' names all the time. I want to know who they are. All right. So professional conversations, no idle chit chat before. Our communication also goes with how we make calls, right? Proper voice on calls, rule book vocabulary if we have to talk about something, or at least the best you can do. If you're getting irritated or whatever, don't be spouting off. And this is silence can't be quoted. That's what Fett says all the time. Keep your mouth shut. If you don't know what to say, just don't say anything. All right. Don't be going after the guy. Try to keep calm and in control. All right. We want to look good looking uniforms. Hopefully we're in pretty decent shape so we don't look like we're out of shape, but we can only do so much about that. Or right now you can start doing something if you need to. All right. If we're out there and there's like a lull in the game or there's a pitching change, we don't go down to a knee or all that kind of stuff. We're looking, we don't put our hands in our pockets. We want to be set and ready to go for every play, which is like the hands on knee. If you're on there when the pitchers, on the pitching plate, we're ready to go. All right. And people notice these kind of things. All right. We hustle. We don't over hustle, but we hustle if we have to. We're not just lollygagging and walking around. We, a nice little jog if we need to, those kind of things. We look confident and we're approachable. If they got a question, we're ready to answer it. And because we know the answers, or at least we are going to do the best we can. And we're going to be confident in what we say. All right. Rule enforcement. Sometimes we have trouble with this with high school because some guys know the rules better than others, and some people don't enforce rules like they should because, I don't know, they're scared to or something. That stuff happens. But we start this in the first inning. The same pitch should be the same. If you're calling a certain strike in the first inning, you want that in the last inning. You want to enforce if a pitcher is balking or something like that, you're going to call that in the first inning as you are in the last inning. You want to be consistent with things. All right. So strictly enforce the rules of emphasis and everything out. That the rule book is what it is. And if somebody has a problem with it, it's all right to say that is the rule. I'm just trying to enforce the rules. I don't get to make up the rules. I don't get to pick and choose what rules I enforce. I'm just doing the best I can. And some of these rules are for safety, and I'm making sure that happens. Like if the catcher doesn't have the proper helmet on or whatever it might be, we're going to enforce that. We're not doing that to be a jerk. We just want the kid to be safe because that's what they say we're supposed to do. All right. Ground rules, of course, are going to be in the plate meeting, and any ground rules that are there can't supersede what's actually in the rule book. for example, at Lee High School, I don't know if I haven't been over there in a little while, but they used to have this, I don't know, wire going across right field. Somebody ever been over the Lee lately? Is that still there? I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, what's his name? Cap or whatever his name was. That I don't know if he's still there too. But he's like, well, if it hits that, it's a ground rule triple. Well, there is no such thing, and that's not in the rule book. There's no such thing as a ground rule triple. All right, so that's like, he did that with me one time. Like, well, we can't have that. Well, there is no ground rule triple. If it hits that, it's a, we can call it ground rule double. That's what it is. That's the only thing we got. That's the only ground rule we can have. So you can't just make crap up. If it hits that little rock out there, it's a home run. No, I mean, this isn't backyard baseball. So, make sure that the ground rules meet what actually is in the rule book. All right.
Kev, I was out there at Lee last year. The wire is still there, but the one that they tried to say was there were a bunch of geese in right field. They said, if the ball's hit out there, there's geese, it's a ground rule double.
Okay. Yeah, that's always something. All right. I mean, the geese will probably get out of the way, or they might bite you, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Okay. So anyway, maintain a calm and composed demeanor, particularly when you're talking to the student athlete, because you are the adult. All right. Sometimes our coaches will not quite act like adults, but you've got to be the adult. Okay. Work with the head coaches. As Dave Turner said, head coaches only, because they're the ones that are managing their team, and they have a lot of pride in trying to make sure they can control their team. So they're the ones that go through. If there's some issue with the dugout, try to talk to the head coach and see if he can solve it first. All right. That's a good way to go. Not you going over there and barking at some kids. Now, if the coach can't handle it, then you got to step in and do what you got to do. You got to give warnings. You might have to eject, whatever you got to do. But first, you let the coach try to handle it. All right. Swearing is basically not allowed in high school baseball. All right. If we're working some men's league games, or we're working certain other games, collegiate games, some players swear. As long as you're not swearing at us, it's okay. But we're not supposed to have some player that grounds out the first base and he F-bombs it as he's running back to the dugout and all these people can hear it. You got to give a warning if that happens. Now, obviously, if they're swearing at another player, or obviously at the umpires or something, then that could be like an immediate thing. But you definitely got to give warnings. And if that happens again, you got to get rid of them. All right. They got to get ejected. Just like if they're in the classroom, right? I hope, I know some other educators on here. We don't let students come in and start swearing all the time. They do swear. You say something about it. If they keep doing it, they get kicked out. They get in trouble. That's what it is on the baseball field too. All right. We had a little issue about this last week, and players cannot be restricted to the dugout, only on the illegal substitutions. I mentioned that, and that was like the correct thing I was saying. Only like coaches can be restricted to dugouts. All right. Players, unless it's an illegal substitution, cannot be restricted to a dugout. If they do something that forces you to remove them from the game, then they are ejected. Now, they can remain in the dugout when they're ejected. That is acceptable. That's in the rule book. But they cannot just be restricted to the dugout. All right, they're out. And some people are like, well, I don't feel like they should be suspended, because they're going to get suspended for the next game. All right, well, that's what it is. All right. And you got to write up the thing on the MHSAA website. It doesn't take that long, but you got to tell people what happened. Players that are ejected do not have to leave the facility, may remain in a dugout. Obviously, if they keep causing problem while they're in the dugout, then they might have to be removed. All right. Tobacco in all schools is like state law stuff. You're not supposed to have that. And, in a school function thing, like a baseball game, you can't have any tobacco like on the playing surface. If somebody's out there smoking a cigarette in the stands, they're technically not supposed to do that if it's on school grounds, but that's not our problem. On the baseball field, we can't have any tobacco, all right, within the fences, right? All right, so game flow, call strikes. Get all the strikes you can get. You never hear people saying, man, that umpire called way too many strikes. Now, maybe you called some strikes that they didn't think were strikes, but you hear a lot of complaints about umpires that don't call enough strikes. So make sure you're calling all the strikes you can that are reasonable, especially the lower level games. Base umpires are critical to counting throws when a relief pitcher enters the game. This is still in effect where you get your 8 warm-up throws, your warm-up pitches, right? And then 5 in between, when a returning pitcher is out there. So if your plate umpire is writing things down and coaches are making changes and stuff, you're just standing there watching, count. And when he pays attention, you can put up your fingers like, hey, we got 2 more, we got 3 more left. And he's like, okay. And then he can take care of it. All right. Encourage teams to use players not actively participating, get the wild pitches and foul balls and all that stuff. Of course, they're on the field, they got to have a helmet. All right. As a plate umpire, try to start an inning with at least 4 baseballs. By rule, it's supposed to be 3. Get as many baseballs as you can because they will go away. I mean, I don't care if you've got 3 baseballs in each ball bag. You got 6. They will all get fouled off, and you'll have no baseballs. That will happen. Unless there's only 2 outs left in the game. It still might happen. All right. So always get as many as you can. I know some guys like 1 ball bag. Maybe that's all you can afford right now, but it's good to have 2. And that's why I think it looks more uniform, but I like to have 2 ball bags because I can fit more baseballs in them. They want to give me a bunch of baseballs, I just take them, I don't want to take too many because that looks kind of silly, but you do what you can. All right. Safety, you have to ask at the plate meeting if all players are legally and properly equipped, and you need a yes from the coaches. Yep. Okay. Yep. Not like hope so and all that kind of stuff. They have to actually confirm it with you. So we don't have to ask if a catcher has a cup on because they said he was legally equipped. If the guy gets hit down there and they didn't have a cup on, well, that's on the coach and we can deal with that then. All right. Helmets have to be not broken and stuff. Non-participating players on the field must wear helmets. So if they're coaching first base, they got to wear a helmet. All right. If they're running down to the corner to get a foul ball that went down there, they got to put a helmet on. Right. If they're gonna, help out and run behind the backstop to get a ball that was fouled off, they should have a helmet on. All right. They can't just not do that. Bullpens are different for every field. If the bullpen's on the field, players may only be on it if they're actively warming up. They can't just sit down there like they can in a college or pro game. All right. So they got to be in the dugout. Hey, we've got to warm up. Boom. Now they go over there. Now, if it's outside of the playing field, they can hang out there, I guess, if they want to. All right. Bullpen catchers got to have a mask and helmet on if they squat down. And if they wanted to stand there and play regular catch, they don't have to have that on. But if they go down, like in a catcher type squat, then they need to have that on. Feel free, especially this is good for guys working the bases. You'll see that. And, in between pitches, you'd be like, hey, time. Hey, you got to have a mask on. You got a mask and helmet on, right? Just tell them. All right. And then make sure they do it. Okay. Jewelry is no longer an issue now. They kind of do it like they do in pro and other stuff, as long as you don't think it's dangerous or something like that. But I've never seen, I've seen some guys wear some big old necklaces and things like that. I've never seen it really affect any place. I'm sure it has, but not in the games I've done. So it doesn't really come into play that often anyway. So if a guy's got an earring or he got a big old necklace or whatever, now if it's all super shiny and causing some problems and the pitcher's wearing it, if you're like, yeah, that's a bit distracting, you can have him take it off if you want to. Yeah, I think I deem it distracting, and that's your judgment. So do what you got to do. But, that doesn't happen too often. All right. So you take a look at it. Conflict resolutions. Okay. Coaches versus opposing coach, players, fans. This always can spiral out of control there. You have to immediately try to do what you can to try to stop them from doing whatever they're doing. All right. Utilize restrictions if they're going after each other, because you'll see that I've had that happen before, and you got to stop that stuff the best you can. All right. With the head coaches and stuff, if they're, or people talking to each other. We already mentioned stuff about assistant coaches. If they start going off on people, they get the quick hook, man. They might get really, they're not supposed to say anything. I mean, you could eject them very quickly if you wanted to. All right. Player versus player. Sometimes players are like, they were on the same travel team and this and that, and they kind of nag each other. You know how high school boys can do. And at first you're like, oh boy, these guys are kind of being nasty to each other. But that's what high school boys do. I mean, I've seen a lot of them. So if you understand that it's just good natured, you can let that go. Obviously, we don't want any swearing and taunting and things like that. But you got to kind of understand where the situation is. All right. Because you'll see that at times. So don't jump to conclusions right away. Just make sure you understand what the situation might be. Obviously, we want to try to prevent any fights. But if they do start fighting, you're not required to jump in there and get yourself hurt. That the coaches and stuff can come out there and break them up. you just kind of see what happened and decide who might get ejected or what the situation might be if something like that happens. All right. Try to stop it before it happens if you can. If not, then whatever. It is what it is. All right. Same thing here that was talked about with Dave there. Assistant coaches and bench players can't argue or anything or delay a game. It's easy to restrict assistant coaches to the dugout. If you got a first base coach that's being a jerk about stuff, maybe you could eject him, but maybe, hey, you're not coaching first anymore. You're restricted to the dugout. I don't care if nobody has to coach first base. If they can have a player, or nobody can be there. I don't care. I don't need that guy there. There's questioning everything. So don't take anything from those first base coaches. And then post game, once you get done with the game, I know we all want to go home and everything, which is good. You're taking all your stuff off, you got things going, you're hungry, whatever. But do what you can to have a little quick discussion with your partner in the parking lot. Do not stop and discuss things with coaches or players or fans. All right. We don't owe them any explanation, and only bad things happen 95% of the time if you're talking to them. When the game's over, get the heck out of there. We're not sitting around, looking for autographs if you thought you had a good game. All right. Because somebody will come up and tell you didn't have a good game. Especially, the pitcher on the other team that lost or something, or the dad. All right. So, just get the heck out of there. Get in, get out. Hopefully people don't say anything to you. All right. If you have some issues, let me know or Vanderline know or whoever, if there are some ejections or restrictions or whatever might have happened, let people know so they have a heads up so that we don't get blindsided by something that happens later. And then, like I said, post game, try to talk to your partner about, what do we do well? What did we do that we could improve on? Did we have some weird situations that happen? And what do you think about that? Why'd you rule this? And work through that stuff. And that's how you learn things and how you might handle a similar thing the next time that you have it. All right. So there you go. That's our main stuff there. Be professional, judge stuff in a neutral way. Obviously you don't talk to and put things on social media, and we don't usually have too many newspapers around high school games anymore. Don't cause emails to happen because of something you did. All right. And uphold the rules best you can. All right. Any questions or comments about any of that stuff? That's a whole bunch of stuff. What we got? We got a few minutes left here. Okay, so some basic umpire signals. Of course, we've got like our basic signals like
Hey, Kevin, Jim Hessler's got a question.
oh yeah, what's up, Jim?
Just one thing, it's a silly thing probably, but if I've got a bottle of water and I'm the base umpire, I never know where to put it, or even the plate umpire. I don't want to put it in the dugout, or it just
we don't
seems
want
to
to put
be.
it in dugout.
No, I know.
If you're the plate umpire, you can put it somewhere back by the backstop out of the way that maybe it'd be very unlikely to get hit by a ball. If you're the base umpire, you can put it by the fence or something over on the first base side over in foul territory, somewhere that's, maybe directly kind of across from where you might stand in short right field. That's what I would do. I was taught by old school guys like Bruce Doane, and he didn't think that you should take water on the field. So I very infrequently do take water on the field. I mean, as you work up a little bit and they might have water available in the dugout, you can certainly ask for water. You don't ever go in the dugout and get it. You can say, hey, could you give me a little cup of water? And they can bring it out to you. If they're good, they will bring it out to you or ask you if you'd like some. So, but if you're bringing your own, then just put it in a non-discreet area that hopefully the ball doesn't hit it someplace. The plate umpire is kind of hard. I mean, if they're, you can usually find some spots, but that's what I've done when I've taken water on the field. If it's really hot stuff, you got to do that, right? All right. Hopefully that answers that. All right. Some basic umpire signals here. This is particularly good for my newer, almost brand new guys. Do not pitch is the right hand up. Play ball, you can have that. Obviously, you can point when you're putting the ball in play, but that means like, hey, stop. Or and if they do try to pick somebody off, it's not going to count. And then pitch, timeout for foul ball, dead ball there. Delayed dead ball, we kind of gotten away from that, but that still has a signal there. That's the hammer strike. Infield fly, we're pointing up. Our safe is not like we're calling a touchdown, right? It's like shoulder level, as you see there on the graphic. Fair ball, we're just pointing, no vocal on it, right? Foul trip right there. We got it up there, and we're doing that. Count, we call strikes with a right hand, so the strike count is always in our right hand, right? And, the balls are in the left hand. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. Time play, you see the guy right there doing that. Okay. See if I got the right thing here. Oops, the wrong thing here. I don't know if I have time to do that one. Hold on here. We gotta go back one. And then finally, these are a couple, the save mechanic. You can read through it here, but like I said, even with the arms there, right? Out mechanic. I know we can do the, a punch out kind of thing, but this is our typical out mechanic. And it's fine to use that every time if you want to, but we usually got to get into it sometimes on a close banger kind of play. Time, foul, dead ball. You can read through the stuff. I'm not going to read through all of it again there, all right, because it's on there and I know you can look at it, all right. So we got that one. Same thing again there. Fair ball, we can point, all right. When we point, we just want the one finger out. We don't want it to look like a gun. Okay, infield fly. And we can talk about infield fly and things like that and what it is later, but that's the signal, right? And if both guys are calling it, then you should do it. If one guy calls, the other guy should kind of mimic that. That's a good thing to do. Here's play. Again, we're not doing the gun kind of thing there, right? And every time there's a foul ball, or the ball is, dead, play. Or at least you're pointing, and your partner knows. We got to put the ball back in play every time it's killed, okay? So those are some of our basic signals there. And then I got a few minutes here to show you my little videos. I want to see also if it works here. Any questions before as I get this going though? Scott, go ahead, man. Just come off mute there.
Real quick, if you're in B and C and there's a pitching change, do you want us to stay in B and C or go into short outfield?
You should go into short outfield. We don't want to have a player sandwich where we're stuck in between them and they're talking. We don't want to be by the players when they're warming up. They'll usually congregate around the mound or somewhere around that area on the grass there. And we need to get away from them. You could be on the dirt on one side or the other, but stay away from the players. Okay. All right. You don't need to be talking to them. Some umpires, that's not good. We don't need to talk to them. If they come and ask you a legit question, fine. I'm not saying you can't. They're like, I can't talk to you, but we don't go looking to like, hey, hey, what grade are you in? Blah, blah. No, we're not doing that. All right, that's not good. That will get you in trouble too. Okay.
Hey, Kev, can you talk to the quick pitch that was by that play thing, but it just said quick pitch underneath it? What are your mechanics and how do you handle and what is a quick pitch for
quick pitch is in particular when a batter is not alert to the pitcher and he's not ready to hit and the pitcher's trying to like throw it quickly so while he's not set. That's against the rules. Okay. And at first you can warn the pitcher, hey, we're not doing that. And you can have your point to your eyeballs. Hey, he's got to be looking at you before you start your motion. All right, or before you come set. And if he does it again after you warn him, then you issue a ball, right? I mean, so that's not fair. That's crap, and it's against the rules. So you warn him first per pitcher. If he does it again, then you take care of it. All right. So don't let him do that. I mean, pitchers will do that kind of stuff and try to get that cheap advantage, right? Any other questions? Okay, let's see my little video here where they're going to talk about. We got a pre-pitch mechanics quiz that hopefully you'll do sometime. All right. Let me see here. I got it right here. I think I got it over here. Here's my pre-pitch thing here. Let's do this. All right. Let me know if you guay can hear this. Can you guys hear that? All right, I gotta skip the ad in a sec here.
Blocking your team.
All right, here we go.
On our right.
Is
So
it
there
big
you
enough?
have it, our review of the pre-pitch signals for NFHS baseball.
Oh, hold on
If you
here.
found this video
Hold on
helpful,
here.
season, 23 season. Now, while most of you will recognize these mechanics and are likely already using most of them yourselves, it's important that we use the directions given in this update to standardize our interpretation across all umpires. Now, stay tuned to the end of the signals review, and I'll give you a mechanic that I add during my pre-games that can be helpful for you and your partners in better handling on-field situations. So in this video, we'll review the pre-pitch mechanics and signals we use to manage a game, and then we'll work through case plays and scenarios tied to these mechanics. As always, if you want to see how well you can do on the case plays before going through the review with me at the end of the video, you can find a link to it in the video description.
Kev, the screen's frozen.
Patrick Farber from
It's what?
GHSA Baseball.
Screen is frozen. The audio is going.
Where we help umpires develop their knowledge and skills. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out the rest of our videos.
Yeah.
Also, the study guide for the
It's working now.
2023 GHSA Rules Test
Good to
Yeah,
go.
it is.
Classroom is now available. You can find it in the video description.
Have to
let's
Matt,
get
full
started.
screen it.
First, let's begin with the way every game starts. Rule 4-1-5. The game begins when the umpire calls play after all infielders, pitcher, catcher, and batter are in position to start the game. So the rules book doesn't give the physical mechanic, but it does give the verbiage. It's play, not put a ball or any other variation. Every game begins with the umpire calling play. Now, the official mechanic given this year won't surprise any of you. It's the umpire pointing at the pitcher with his right hand while saying play. This is the same mechanic as given in Rule 5-1-4 for making a dead ball live. Next, for making a ball dead, we have the time mechanic. This mechanic is given by holding out both hands in front of the body and above the shoulders. Now, one thing to know with these mechanics is that the rules book gives the ability to call time to both umpires, while it only gives play to one umpire. In 10-2-3, the rules lay out the responsibilities of the umpire chief, who it defines as the one behind the plate, but most commonly is referred to as the plate umpire. The rule says that this umpire, his duties include to call play and use the correct hand signal to start the game or to resume play, and call time whenever the ball becomes dead. This compares to Rule 10-3-1, which covers the field umpire and gives the field umpire concurrent jurisdiction with the umpire chief in calling time, but does not give jurisdiction in calling play. So this probably wasn't news to most umpires with some experience, but here's the new mechanic that will stand out and is going to be key in standardizing across all our umpires. It's the do not pitch signal given by the plate umpire with the right palm facing out towards the pitcher. Now, I know this is pretty obvious what it means. It's our way of telling a pitcher to not begin his delivery to the plate, and we use it in a bunch of situations, such as a batter still getting set in the box, or waiting for a fielder to get back from chasing a foul ball. There are plenty of times this mechanic can be useful, and what separates it from the time mechanic is that this mechanic tells the pitcher that while we aren't ready for play to begin, we don't want to have him completely disengage the rubber. Now, here's the most important part of the mechanic. When you give it, the ball is dead. You see, this mechanic doesn't only signal not to pitch, but it also enforces that no playing action can occur. This means no balks, no illegal pitches, no pickoffs, no steals. When you give this mechanic, no playing action can occur until you finish it with a point at the pitcher and calling play. The last signal we'll cover in this video that is for someone other than our partner is the count. The count is given by the plate umpire and is always given the same way. Balls are signaled with the left hand and strikes with the right while verbally giving the count. This never changes regardless of what way you're facing or who is asking. Always balls in the left hand and strikes in the right. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind with this mechanic. One, always use both hands to give the count and never do it with one hand. Second, a full count is given by holding up 3 fingers on the left hand and 2 fingers on the right. 2 fists on both hands is how we signal no count. It's important that we save the 2 fists for no count because sometimes this is needed for clarification during the game. For example, when the first pitch a batter sees is a ball. After warning bases, we need to be able to signal that the pitch did not count and there is no count. The only way to do this is with the 2 fist mechanic. Now, let's talk about signals we use with our partners. These are used to make sure we are both identifying situations before they happen and to help in situations where we may forget something. So let's start with signaling the number of outs. This is usually given with an arm down by our side and the umpire giving either a fist for no out, a single finger for 1 out, or 2 fingers for 2 outs. If you see your partner holding an empty fist out to you, that's a signal that they would like you to tell them how many outs there are. Hopefully, not too common that you see this. Note, this mechanic is done only as a reminder for ourselves. But if a coach or player does ask for the number of outs, give them the number by holding it out to your side and not in front of you. We don't want it to look like you're giving the count. Next, in situations with less than 2 outs and runners on first and second, or first, second, and third, we have a potential infield flag. To signal this possibility, we touch the right side of the bill of our hat with our right hand index finger. Then, when we have a possible time play with 2 outs, where we may have an out on the bases as a runner is crossing the plate, we signal a reminder to our plate umpire by touching 2 fingers to our left wrist. For rotations, we have several signals to remind our partners. With a single runner on first base, most commonly the mechanic is given by the base umpire pointing to his right towards first base, and the plate umpire to his right towards third base. However, the mechanic given in the manual is the thumb and pinky finger extended on both hands with our arms down by our sides and then rotating our hands. Either of those mechanics will work. In a situation where we have runners on first and second, and the possibility of the plate umpire covering third on a fly ball to the outfield that will have R2 and R1 attempting to tag up, we use the double tag rotation signal. This is given by hitting one fist on top of the other and usually a point by the plate umpire towards third. Note, this mechanic always comes after the infield fly mechanic because the only situation where a double tag could happen is with less than 2 outs and runners on first and second. So it's the bill of the cap to the fist and then the point. Finally, in a situation where we no longer will be rotating, we remind our partners by simply pointing the index fingers on both hands towards the ground. So those are the manual mechanics, but I want to add a new mechanic for plate umpires to signal to their base umpires. It's the plate umpire holding up 3 fingers in front of his body and then pointing towards the ground. This signal tells our partners that when we have 3 out, I'd like you to come down to the plate area to talk to me between innings. Now, we don't use this mechanic to have them come down to make small talk, but instead we use it to discuss game management or situation. One obvious example could be as simple as using this mechanic to tell your base umpire that at the next half inning break, you'll be running to the bathroom. But also, it can be useful for situation handling, especially when it comes to saying common interactions outside of the playing field. I'll give you an example from a playoff game I worked. The visiting team is getting crushed in game 2 of the doubleheader, and of course, that means they're...
All right, so he has gone through the basics of that. There's other parts of the video. If you like to watch the last 5 minutes, you'll kind of need to do that on your own. It's nearly 7 o'clock. I'm going to take about a 5-minute break, and we're going to get going with the general meeting at about 7:05. Okay, that is the deal. If there's any, unless there's any questions or comments right before we take a slight little 5-minute break here. Anybody got anything? My people that are joining on, welcome. Like I said, we'll be starting up here in just a few minutes, but I need a little break here for a second because we've been going for about an hour here. All right. Okay. And then we'll get going on our general meeting. I got a few things I'll be talking to you about tonight, and I'll talk about some of those here once we get rolling. All righty. So I am going to take my little break here for a sec here, and I'll be back in a sec.
Hey, Malik.
Yes. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
you work with Furman a lot. Who if he's in the field, do you let him do it first or you do it first?
When I work with somebody, like if I'm in the base umpire and I'm working with somebody that I'm waiting for them to signal, I'm waiting. I'll signal where I'm doing, and then if I get nothing back, then maybe I find a time in between and we kind of talk about, hey, do you know what the signals are? Because usually, if you, I mean, unless I'm working with somebody that's brand spanking new that I've never worked with before, we usually assume that they know what the signals are, so we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about it, in the parking lot when we're gearing up, when we're covering our pregame. But usually we let the plate umpire signal first, and then we reciprocate.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was just curious how you did it with Furman, and I think Tom. I don't know. I think the base guy. I mean, you both have a lot going on. I just feel like the plate guy's trying to keep the kid in or get the kid in, and maybe have I don't know. I guess I'll ask Kevin when he gets back. But what's maybe better? I don't know. I'm sure either way, as long as you guys both see each other doing it at least once.
Right. Usually you want to get it quick because you don't have a whole lot of time. As soon as that play is done and you got another, as soon as that initial play ends, usually I get it before that kid comes into the box. I'll step out. Like if it's a right-handed batter, I'll step out to the left side. If it's an opposite, and I'll point real subtle. Especially if I'm working with somebody that I know. If it's somebody that I don't know, maybe I'm a little more, and then we even, if it's new person, never, hey, I got third base hit. You use a voice. You can just talk and say what you're going to do, so that everybody knows where they're going. Because the last thing you want is two guys watching the same spot and nobody watching what they should be watching. That can be a big cluster. But one of my biggest things is, as a base umpire, that gets me a little bit is I got to hear that play. I got to hear them yell play and get that voice. A lot of times, because we'll have guys on base, and I'm not 100% sure if the ball is live. When they are, when they got guys on base and they put the ball back in play, or it's a foul ball and the catcher throws it back to the pitcher, and I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
I'm like,
hey, Kevin, are you back?
I am back.
How much of that did you hear? What do you prefer, the plate guy? Do you like the plate guy doing the signals first, or
technically the plate guy is supposed to do the signals? He's supposed to be the leader initiating the signals.
Okay, there was a question.
If a guy isn't doing it, then I'm gonna just give him signals. If I'm on the bases and my plate guy's never doing it, then I'm just keep doing my signals. After I feel like he should have done them, and then I'm probably gonna talk to him between, and it's like, hey man, you gotta let me know where you're going, and you gotta do the signals, right? Okay. So, but mechanics.
It was just a question. It was a question and a thing. That's all.
Yeah.
Kev, when you say you're going to give them your signals, you're telling your partner where you're going.
I'm telling you where I'm going, and I'm telling myself where I'm going.
Right.
Yeah.
Because signals to me is not just. I don't know. Some guys have an issue with signals. Like I'm too cool to do signals or something. I don't know what it is. Seriously, that's what I feel like. It's like, it's all pre-pitch. This goes with everything. This is particularly my veteran guys out here, okay? But definitely anybody that's on this Zoom. You got to think about what you're going to do in different situations before every pitch, the whole game. Now, if you worked a lot of two-man, like I've worked a lot of two-man, so some of it becomes more automated, like driving a car, right? You just do what you got to do, right? But particularly if you might work three-man or four-man or whatever, but you got to think, I'm okay. If that guy does it, I'm going there. And that's part of your signals. All right. So it tells you, so you're mentally in it. All right. Because you're like, hey, if that guy goes to third, I got to cover that. Okay. And you told yourself that, and then hopefully your body does it. All right. Because you just pre-pitch told yourself. So anyway, it's important, and it is supposed to be initiated by the plate umpire.
And you're not pointing to tell the other guy where they should be going.
No, we're always pointing where we're going.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, that's where I'm going. If crap happens in this situation, I'm going over toward this side of the field. You go over there, right?
Because you don't ever want to have both guys pointing the same spot.
No, we don't want two umpires there. We don't like even numbers of umpires on bases. We want an odd number, and 0 is not an odd number, as Mark Yule says. Okay. Yeah, because we don't want nobody there. Okay. Hope everybody's doing all right. We got a good number. I got all this stuff up on my screen, so we got a good crowd. How many people we got on this, Analon? We got
48,
28. That's it.
40,
Oh,
48,
48.
48.
Oh, that's pretty good. All right, talking about some more 2025 stuff. In particular, points of emphasis. Oops, I already did my video thing here. Hold on here. We'll be checking that out in a minute. There's a little quiz and stuff. People have been on there doing the quizzes. I am checking to see how people are doing. Does it like necessarily count for something? No, not really, but I do look at it, so it counts for what I think about you and stuff, for whatever that's worth. Okay. And I see who's engaging with Canvas stuff. I'm adding more stuff on there, trying to refine things. I have a whole bunch more things I want to put on there. Hopefully you've been engaging with it and it's working for you. If you have any questions, make sure you always ask me. If you are not on Canvas yet, you didn't accept my invitation, or I didn't invite you for some reason, I missed doing that, then get a hold of me, send me an email and say, hey, I'm not on the Canvas thing. What do I got to do? And I'll make sure it happens. All right. All right. So here are 2025 points of emphasis by all federations of all over the country, including here in the great state of Michigan. All right. So for high school baseball, attention is being called to the use of authenticated mark program balls. Okay. Basically, it's got the right stamp on it. We'll see a thing with that in a second. Pitching positions. All right. This is part of Rule 6, which you should look, whether a guy is in the windup or the set position. One of the choices is not the hybrid. And for my people that don't know what that is, that's okay, because it's illegal anyway. All right. So that's something we're going to be looking at, and hopefully do some preventative umpiring. And we see the guy warming up and he's doing something that's not legal. And we're going to mention it and not just let it happen in the game and end up calling balks or illegal pitches and stuff. All right. Bench decorum. This is probably number one for me with people. I feel like we have a lot of umpires that are afraid to take control of certain situations. They don't want to step on people's toes. I don't know. They're worried about their rating or something. I don't know. You got to do what you got to do, people. All right. And we can't have unsportsmanlike thing coming from the players and coaches allowing their players to do that. So we got to take care of that. We're going to talk about that more in detail. Use of props. This was gotten rid of last 2 or 3 years in college baseball, but players will see this stuff on TV. The Tigers got their little pizza thing, but they do it in the dugout, right? Things like this have to be done in the dugout. We're not supposed to be bringing props out onto the field. We don't really have some big penalties for it, like maybe they should, but we are going to not allow this to happen, and we'll talk more about that in detail. And then if they happen to use the improper use of the communication equipment, remember we have the communications, the one-way device from the bench or coach or whatever to the catcher is allowed. So if we have a problem with that, we got to take care of that too. So these are the points of emphasis we want to make sure we do. Are coaches going to read over these? No, they won't. They should. I mean, of the 42 schools that I signed for here in the WMUA, we'll probably be lucky if 3 head coaches look at the points of emphasis. Maybe there's more, I don't know, but they frequently won't. Okay, but anyway, you can always say, hey, this is a point of emphasis this year, that we cannot have props brought onto the field or whatever the issue might be. Okay, so those are the things there. All right, let me get back here to where I want to get to. I'm going to show you a little thing here. We got a quiz that goes along with this. Of course, the way these quizzes go, if you kind of pay attention to the video, it kind of has the questions in there, so you can do well with it. But we'll see how we do with that. All right, let me get down to see. I'm putting all this new stuff under the 2025 module here, right? So that's the thing I just showed you. Here's a little quiz. Let's check out the little video here in just a second. Now, other thing, just so you know, after this, I'm going to talk about social media guidelines that the MHSAA says for all sports that we work, because we do have, sometimes we have had issues with people putting things on Facebook or other types of social media platforms that are not quite appropriate. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And then we'll do a little thing with, working the plate, making sure, as because next week at Jenison High School, we have like our open kind of training thing that we do, and we'll have some opportunity to work plate stuff. And these are some things that you'll be able to work on. And even my veteran guys have been around for a while. These are things we all need to think about, so that when we start calling balls and strikes again, we're not developing some bad habits. We're doing things the right way, so we can be as consistent and the best umpire we can be. All right. So we'll look at that kind of stuff. I got several things to go with that, but we'll see how much we get through. All right. Okay. So let's check out the points of emphasis video. This is 16 minutes. All right. I got to keep it minimized here. If I do it full screen, it seems to lock up and you can't see the movement very well. Hopefully you should be able to hear it well. Let's see what we got here.
For the 2025 season,
You guys hear that?
the NFHS has identified
Yeah.
5 areas of the game that need to be addressed and given special attention. This means coaches will be on alert for these situations in their games, and umpires need to be ready to identify and enforce these rules. So in this video, we'll break down the 5 points of emphasis along with the rules that accompany those areas. We'll then break down this
Probably
week's
stop
case
here and
plays
there
to
to
help you
maybe
better understand
talk about a
how
couple
these
things as you
situations may appear in your games. Of course, if you want to try taking the case plays before we review the answers,
Like 63% only got a passing score. Hopefully when you guys take the little quiz, we'll have like a very high percentage. Okay.
you can find them linked in the video description. Hi everyone, I'm Patrick Farber with Umpire Classroom, where we help umpires develop their knowledge and skills. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and you can find more umpire training videos and courses at umpireclassroom.com. For 2025, there are 5 points of emphasis for baseball. They are use of authenticating marked program balls, pitching positions, bench decorum, use of props, and improper use of communication equipment. So let's work through each one to better explain how they apply to our game. This portable warm air blaster will be in every home in America by
Yes.
2026.
The warm air
It can
blaster
heat a
will be out there
900
when the weather is cold.
First,
Okay, here we
let's
go.
look at the rules around baseballs and pregame responsibilities. 1-3-1 defines the standards for a baseball in NFHS games. Now, if you're familiar with the official baseball rules used in professional baseball, you'll know that Rule 3.01 gives specific details about the ball. This includes its weight, circumference, color, the materials it's made out of. It even includes the word avoirdupois, which I'm going to guess is not in most of your vocabulary. Now, all of that is a lot for you to have to break down and understand. Can you imagine a coach complaining about any of those aspects in your game and the headache it would cause? It would be a lot, so the NFHS has made your job a lot easier by making the only requirement for a baseball be that it must have the authenticating mark that they give to manufacturers who apply for the mark. Manufacturers are only given the ability to use the mark when they can prove that they produce baseballs that fall into the safety metrics implemented by the NFHS. This mark will note that the balls meet SEI NOCSI standards and that the ball is good for play. And it's critical that you ensure this mark is on your game balls because it is the only rule.
So that is the mark. Hopefully you see it there. The NFHS out right there. NOCSI, SE, that right there. That's what it looks like. All right. It's got that. It's good. Obviously, if the ball has a big cut on it, then it's not good to be having play. But if it's a ball that's in decent shape and it has that on it, we're good to go. All right. That's it.
Defining an NFHS baseball. If you look at the NFHS rule, it makes no mention of the size, weight, material, or color of the ball. The full liability for the safety of our players when it comes to baseballs lies between the manufacturers and NOCSI, which stands for the National Operating Committee on Standards for Athletic Equipment. For your protection and the protection of the schools and players we work with, you must ensure this requirement is enforced in your games. The second point of emphasis is pitching.
All right. So if you allow them to use non-approved baseballs without the stamp, and let's say the ball moves at a lot faster pace than a standard ball, and somebody gets hurt, then you could be liable for that. So, you know, do what you got to do. Okay. Everybody should, you know, look. Now, do you inspect it every time? Well, you probably kind of should see if it's got it on there. Do I always remember to do that? I'll be honest with you, I don't. Okay, but I'm assuming that it does. You usually can tell the baseballs that are used in most look a certain way, and if you got kind of a funny, like, what ball is this? And it doesn't have it on, you can't use this. Varsity games usually not such a big problem because they'll spend the money on the baseballs they're supposed to use because baseballs are not cheap. Sometimes they'll try to get away with things in the freshman and the JV games, but they're still supposed to use the proper baseballs. Okay.
Hey, Kev,
Yes.
if you have a baseball and it has that stamp on it, it gets worn off during the game. You can still use that baseball.
Oh yeah, yeah. If this,
Right? And some guys say, "Oh, it doesn't have it on it. We can't use it." But you can if you know it's the same ball.
Yeah.
Let it ride.
Don't worry about if it's worn off. It's just if it's a different ball that doesn't didn't ever have that stamp, you're not supposed to use that. So you got to get the balls with the right stamp on it. And they know, all right? So we don't need to go into all this kind of detail about that, but make sure they're using the right baseballs. It's on for the protection of the players. If they start giving you garbage about it, then you say, this is what, the state says and federation says, and it's for the safety of everyone around here, all right? That's what you're supposed to use. And this has been the rule for a while now. What has it been? Maybe 3 years, I think, that they've required this. So it's not like it's brand new this year. So they should have the right baseballs. They used to have these other baseballs. They want to get rid of those because it might cost $3 a baseball. Which, then it goes in the woods, right? Whatever. So they should be okay, but just make sure it does. Particularly for our sub-varsity games, which is, a good number of you are working a lot of those. All right.
This was a recent rule change made to clarify and simplify determining if a pitcher is in the windup or set positions. Even with the simplification, it's frustrating and disappointing to see just how many umpires do not understand, or even worse, don't have the self-confidence to enforce this rule. The NFHS rules are very clear. The determining factor is the pitcher's pivot foot. If the pivot foot is parallel to the rubber, he is in the set position. Anything other than parallel is in the windup. There is no declaring, there is no...
So it's really easy to tell, okay? If his foot's parallel, like on the left one there, that's it. Doesn't matter where that non-pivot foot is. He could be any which way, okay? If the other one, the one on the right there, even though it's like semi kind of, off shooting there, that's a hybrid, okay? That would be windup. That's what it is. So the qualifications you have for a legal pitch under each one, they apply if you're whatever one you're in. That's it. You can't declare. Now you can declare different things at different levels, like collegiate level. Not same thing here. All right. It's one or the other. They want to make it as simple as possible. All right.
Hybrid. There is no exception because he does it every time. None of that. You look at his pivot foot and determine based on that. If he starts with his pivot foot parallel, but then makes a step with his free foot before another step striding to deliver the pitch, that is illegal. With no runners on, it's an illegal pitch and a ball. With runners on base, it's a balk. My advice to you on this, and what will make you show up as a credible umpire, is to focus between innings when a pitcher is warming up to see if he violates this rule. To get this right, and to get it right on the first time it occurs, we need to double down on focus, especially before an inning starts. The next 2 points of emphasis go hand in hand.
All right, so our base umpire in particular, you shouldn't be chatting up the shortstop or the coach when there's a pitching change. You should see if the guy looks like he's pitching legally, okay? If he's good, okay, fine. If not, then you might talk to that pitcher, or you go talk to your partner and say, hey, how does that look to you? Does it look like he's doing this or that? And you guys decide. And then you tell the coach and the pitcher or whoever before the inning starts, hey, that's a hybrid. He's got to be one or the other here. They can't have that. And then they can make the adjustment. We would like to have some preventative umpiring. Now, if it's before the start of the game, the starting pitcher, same type of thing. You should be looking and see. Somebody should be looking. Both the plate umpire and the base umpire should be taking a look and see what they see out there, right? It's part of your focus out there. And if you can prevent something from happening before it gets to it, that would be great. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. So are we allowed or encouraged then to go and talk to the player or the coach before this happens, or are we supposed to allow it to happen?
Yes, you're allowed to do that. Okay. If you see that he is pitching from a hybrid and you don't know if it's a windup or the set, or he's doing something that it looks like he's in a set, but he's doing like a windup kind of thing, you say, that's going to be a balk if there's runners on base, or that's going to be an illegal pitch. You can tell him that. You can tell the head coach that. And then they have to try to make an adjustment. I mean, and if they do it while, you tell them, and then they do it in the game, then you call what you got to call. You call balk or whatever you got to do, or an illegal pitch. Okay.
I would talk to the coach first. And again, try to be brief. You're not conducting a pitching clinic, because
we're not trying to coach him.
Where now now he's going to bring his pitching coach over to you. Hey, I was trying to explain to my pitching coach about what you were telling me. No, just stay out of that. Just be brief. I
would have the head coach come to the 45-foot line from his side, whatever side of the dugout he is, or whatever side of the baselines, and say, hey, he's got to either be in the set or the windup, and he's in a hybrid right now. He's got to do, whatever the situation is, and tell him that. I'm going to tell him that right now, and hopefully he'll do that in the game. Otherwise, it'll be an illegal pitch or a ball. And hopefully he'll do it.
Because what you're going to hear too is the coach is just going to say, "Oh, he's been pitching like this forever."
Nope. Well,
Not
not in this game.
Nope.
He's got to pitch legally in this game. Okay, so hopefully we all will do this, and then the guy down the line will figure it out. Because maybe, he's been taught wrong or he's been allowed to do it. Well, whatever. There's got to be a point where the buck stops and we're going to follow the rules, because we're out here to uphold the rules. We don't get to pick and choose what pitching things are illegal or not, or make up our own stuff. We got to follow what it is. And if they can't, we tell him, try to correct it right before. If he doesn't, then we just keep calling balks, I guess, until he figures it out, right? I mean, we warned him before, right? And we told them that was not legal, and they know that you're going to call it. So if they're like, whatever, that's fine. He's just been doing that. Okay. See how that plays out, right?
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
So I heard you say a couple of times, well, hey, he's in the hybrid and we're not doing that. The rule change basically says you're either pitching from the set because your foot's parallel to the rubber. And if you're not doing that, you are in the windup. So it simplifies it for the umpires, because what we need to know is what are the rules that apply to when you're in the set and what are the rules that apply in the windup. I don't care if it looks like a hybrid. They got rid of that. So we don't have to worry about that. We only have to know, what are you allowed to do when you're in the windup? What are you allowed to do in the set? And what are the ramifications if they don't? That's all we got to really worry about.
Yep. And so all of us, I mean, I'm not going into all the differences between the set and the windup. Those are in our rule books that some of you will be getting soon, or you can be looking them up. You should know the difference in what they are. So the question to the coach is he in the set or the windup? And he's going to say one thing or another. Well, in the set or in the windup, he is allowed to do this or not allowed to do that. And this is what he's doing. I mean, that's just what it is. Okay. And so you're going to call it. So if he's in the set, and then he steps back with his free foot toward, he's a right-hander, and he steps back with his free foot toward first base, like his little, pump wind up thing. Well, that's a ball.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You can't do that. And it's the rule. Sorry. And then you say, I don't get to pick and choose what it is. I mean, he's in the set or wind up, and he's got to follow the proper rules, right? That's it. And if then you don't say this, don't ever say this, but in your head, you can think, be a better coach then. Teach kid how to pitch. Okay. I mean, that's your job too, but my job is to make sure that they pitch legally. All right. So anyway, that's what, make sure you understand what is allowed in the set and the windup. This is all of our responsibility. We all have the responsibility to know the rules really well and study them. Some of us are maybe better at calling balls and strikes and safe and outs and getting around the field and doing all the mechanics and all that stuff, but we all can know the rules. All right. So there's no excuse for you going out there and not knowing the rules well. All right. Because we have complete control over that. Okay. Anything else on this? I'm moving on. All right. Just enforce the rule. And always enforce the rules as written. That's what we do. We enforce the rules as written, and we should know them as written and do it. All right. Moving on.
The price is down.
We got an ad first.
If you don't
I think
buy
we
them
got
now,
decorum.
they
This
won't
is
be
like
available
one of
again
my
at this
big
price.
ones here. All right.
These are eyeglasses.
Has been for years.
They are bench decorum and use of props. Notably, the bench decorum emphasis from the NFHS is that coaches set the tone at athletic contests with their display of sportsmanship and respect. If these individuals act in a sportsmanlike manner, manage the students in their dugout bench area, their behavior sets a positive tone for players, spectators, and others. What I take away as the most notable point here is that we need to push coaches to have more control of their dugouts and players. It's not individual players that we need to go looking for. Instead, we need to be prepared and willing to hold coaches accountable. One of the best ways to do that is with dugout restrictions. Remember, by rule, we cannot restrict players to the dugout for sportsmanship violations. However, we can restrict coaches for sportsmanship violations by them or their team. So if you think things are getting obnoxious, go ahead and restrict the coach. I think pretty quickly, this will encourage more coaches to take responsibility and control of their players. But the only way this can happen is by you standing up when the time comes. Now, this leads into the point of emphasis on use of props. The NFHS, under no circumstances, allows for players to bring props onto the field. This includes buckets, crowns, tapes, anything that isn't equipment used in normal gameplay. This is a poor showing of sportsmanship and violates the spirit of education-based athletics. And the NFHS helps by blanket laying out that any props brought onto the field are a violation regardless of how they are used. I'll give you an example from a JV game I worked. A player hits a home run, and while he rounds the bases, his teammates come to meet him at home. All of that is legal, but one player brings out a bucket. As the umpire, your first thought is probably going to be, I hope he doesn't do anything dumb with that. But guess what? You already did by bringing it out. That in itself is a violation, and thus it needs to be addressed. So when the batter comes around and touches home, then it's time to enforce the rule. There is no out, and remember, we can't restrict a player to the dugout for sportsmanship issues. Instead, the way to enforce this is to speak with the head coach directly. Call time, calmly go talk to him face to face, tell him his team brought a prop onto the field for the home run celebration. Explain that props on the field are a violation of the rules and points of emphasis, and that because of this, he is now restricted to the dugout. He won't have an argument. You will simply tell him that's the rule and that's what I must do. Yes, it may seem a little over the top, but we have to stop these little violations to prevent them from snowballing into more egregious situations. Finally, the last point of emphasis, focusing on last year.
All right, this is probably the most important one, and I think it's the one that we can all do better and make sure we hold each other accountable to make sure we're taking care of the sportsmanship issues, particularly from the dugouts of the offensive team. All right. I haven't, and did you guys have issues with props and stuff in the last few years here in high school? I haven't really seen many props coming out, but maybe they
I've been seeing flags or banners draped across the dugout.
like in the dugout or like on the fence or something?
On the fence draped, they attach
That's
it to
okay.
to the fence and it shows on the dugout. That's what I
What
see.
we don't want is like what they do, like when we're watching a major league game and they put the chain on them or the crown or the whatever thing because they hit a home run.
I
And
don't see that.
especially if they bring it out there, that's what we don't. That's what we really are focusing on. If they put like something across the fence of the dugout, that's okay as long as they're not bringing it on the field to celebrate. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Has anybody seen any of that though going on, where they bring something on the field to celebrate, like a scoring play or something?
No.
Nothing within the last few years, no.
Nothing within the last few years. Okay, so hopefully we won't, but if we do, we have to address that. This was a big problem in college baseball last few years, and now anybody, it's like a blanket warning when the game starts. And if a player brings a prop on the field, he is ejected. That's it. Doesn't matter. You brought out the bucket, boom, you're done. Okay, so that's how they got rid of that. Then you know what? It's not such a big problem anymore. Now in the dugout, they can do their little things. They can do their little chant and they can put the crown on the guy and everything, but not out on the playing field. All right. So that's not the thing. The thing we have, the problems I see in high school baseball, and others you can chime in too if you see some other things, is the chatter that goes toward the other team, particularly toward the opposing pitcher. All right. We're not supposed to have any of that. We're supposed to, and this is like the head coaches, you address head coach. He needs to take care of that stuff. If he doesn't, then you have to step in and do it. You can't let these kind of derogatory things be said or trying to distract them. All that kind of stuff we got to stop. All right. Because that's unsportsmanlike. And sometimes it takes some, I don't know, whatever you want to say, it takes some guts to do that. And you're going to step on some toes or somebody might get upset with you. But you got to do what you're supposed to do. And it is a point of emphasis, the sportsmanship, and making sure that we're not having this over-the-top stuff that's going to get other people ticked off that might lead to some retaliation, or they're going to want to say something. And then parents are starting to get involved. Of course, we can't do very much about that. And all that stuff seems to happen. All right. Has anybody noticed things with this kind of behavior coming from dugouts in the last few years in your high school games?
Yes.
Yes.
One particular school, they love to bark like a dog while the pitcher is delivering the pitch to time it to distract them, and that is interference. So
yes,
that's a easy one to get, but they're not allowed to time it up with their spirit of the game. They're just enjoying the game, Dave. You got to let them do that. Well, there's a difference. This is high school sports.
Yes.
Yeah, jump on that early.
What
Jump
other
on
team
it
warn?
right away.
That doesn't work, restrict the coach to the dugout if you want to. If that doesn't work, eject him. And of course, then after that, I think you start ejecting players if they continue to do it too, if the coach doesn't do it. I mean, you have to let coaches control their dugouts. That's their responsibility. But like I say, if they can't control them, then I guess we have to control it and do something, which usually ends up being ejections. All right.
So are we saying that cheering the whole time between pitches and during a pitch is okay, but timing the cheering and maybe disruptive cheering at the time when the pitch is actually happening, that's what we want to stop?
Exactly. Yes. And we know the difference when we see it and hear it, right? We know they're doing it on purpose to try to be a distraction and it's an unsportsmanlike kind of thing. They're doing something on purpose to try to get the pitcher, get him going, get under his skin, right? Or distract him. And that is illegal. That's against rules. Now, if they're cheering for the guy or they're making some noise and the dugout's getting loud because they're cheering for a guy to get a hit, okay, that's all fine. They don't have to be quiet like the pitcher's, hitting a putt, okay? If they cheered all the way through, like you're saying, Dave, that's okay. But if they're just timing it up so that they can try to, get it at him a little bit and try to annoy him, or in particular, if they're saying some derogatory things at him, like they're talking about the way he looks or something like that, we got to stop that stuff right away. And you got to, and how do you do that? You address the head coach and say, we can't have that. That is, point of emphasis, and it's unsportsmanlike. We're not having comments directed toward the pitcher while he's trying to pitch. And if the coach, if you can't handle this, then I'm going to restrict you to the dugout, or you might be ejected. Right? I mean, he's got to take care of it. All right. And that's tough because we know we're going to enter a tense situation if we address that. But you got to do it. You got to step up and do it. Be a leader and make sure it's proper. Because if they start doing it, then the other team's going to do it back at them. They're going to do it. We see that too. And then what? Then when well, they were doing it. Why can't we do it? Right? That kind of stuff. So you got to stop that stuff and make sure they're playing with sportsmanship. Basically, they can cheer their people on, but there's a difference. And we all know what it is. Okay. All right. Other questions or comments about that?
I have a question, Kevin.
Yeah.
In other high school sports and in a couple college sports, it is now no longer proper to shoot a bow and arrow, make your hand like a gun. Those are automatic ejections in basketball and football. Do we know if that's going to happen in baseball also?
I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's not happening as of yet. So if a guy hits a double and he's on second base and he does this bow and arrow thing, that's legal. Now, if you're directing gestures that are inappropriate and unsportsmanlike toward the other team, toward their dugout or a particular player, then we got an issue there. Then we need warnings and some action happening, right? But if it's sharing the thing with, they're doing like they're eating up the stuff or whatever the heck they're doing,
exactly
with their teammates, then as of right now, that's legal. That's okay.
Yeah.
On the fringe of it, yeah, probably, but that's legal.
Yeah.
Yes.
We might want to double check that because I read that somewhere just recently, and I don't know if it was in the general rules meeting thing that you have to do before you take your sport specific one or not. But I did see that recently somewhere that was outlawed.
Okay. Well, I will definitely stand corrected if you can find where that is. And
yeah, just check it. I'm not sure where I saw it, but
definitely there. But I don't remember seeing that, but
I can check with Brad.
We know for sure though that if things are directed at the other team, then we got issue.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Also take note that, like he said in the video with high school baseball, unless it's an illegal substitution, we can't restrict players. So if a player does something unsportsmanlike, it might be a warning at first because it was more minimal, and then an ejection. But if it leads to it, it's an ejection. So it's always good to have a warning before any kind of ejection if you can get it. Sometimes it doesn't matter. The guy just, you're effing terrible. Okay, yeah, that's it. Oh, I'm warning you. No, you're just done. All right, that kind of thing. But we don't restrict players to the dugout except for illegal substitutions. All right, coaches can get restricted. Okay, moving on. If somebody finds something about the gesture stuff, then feel free to share it with the group here, okay? Because we all would like to know that.
Major rule change allowing the use of electronic communication devices. Now, this sounds like it could end up getting complicated very quickly, but really it's not that bad at the NFHS level. The keys are that communication can only be one way. It can only go from the dugout. It can only go to the catcher, and any device is legal so long as it does not create unnecessary risk of injury. With that said, please do not be over restrictive on the injury aspect. The NFHS does not want to punish teams that can't afford certain technologies for communication. So if a team has a ragtag way of doing it, try to let it be reasonable. The coach has already taken responsibility for his players being legally and properly equipped, which includes being equipped safely. So don't over-focus on the aspect of a catcher's equipment. And lastly, don't let them confuse or use communication equipment with what is seen at the collegiate and professional levels. This communication can only go from the dugout to the catcher. It cannot go from the catcher in any circumstance, and it cannot go from the dugout to any player other than the catcher. So now that we've reviewed the 5 points of emphasis, let's review this week's case plays, which are available in the video description. Case play number 1. How many baseballs are required to start the game? The correct answer here is 3. By rule, you're required to be given 3 baseballs to start a game. That said, I personally always try to start with 6, 3 in my right ball bag and 3 in the left. Case play number 2. Is a team allowed to rub up baseballs before they are used in gameplay? The correct answer here is yes. A team is allowed to rub up baseballs before they're used in a game. Case play number 3. R1. After a foul ball, the pitcher receives a brand new baseball from the umpire. Before the ball is put in play, the pitcher reaches down, picks up dirt on the mound, and rubs it on the baseball. Is this A, this is legal? B, this is illegal, the pitcher is ejected? C, this is illegal, the ball is added to the count? D, this is illegal, a balk awards R1 second base? E, this is illegal, the umpire shall replace the baseball and no other penalty is enforced. The correct answer here is E. A pitcher is not allowed to rub any substance onto the baseball while on the field. That said, the only penalty is that the ball is taken out of play and there is no balk or ejection or anything of that nature. Case play number 4.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this card.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? All right.
According to the NFHS rules, what is the legal circumference of a baseball? A, 6 to 6.5 inches. B, 8 to 8.5 inches. C, 9 to 9.5 inches. D, the rule does not specify a specific size. The correct answer here is D. The NFHS rules do not give any specifics to the size or weight of a baseball. Instead, the only rule that they give to the umpires is that the ball must have the NFHS authenticating mark. Case play number 5. A right-handed pitcher engages the pitching plate with his pivot foot parallel to the pitcher's plate. His shoulders are squared to the plate, and his free foot is breaking the plane of the front edge of the pitcher's plate. Is this pitcher in the set, wind-up, or hybrid stance? The correct answer here is that this pitcher is in the set position. The only thing that determines which one he is in is his pivot foot. Since it's parallel to the rubber, he is in the set. Case play number 6. Right-handed pitcher with no runners on base engages the pitching plate with his pivot foot parallel to the pitcher's plate. His shoulders are squared to the plate, and his free foot is breaking the plane of the front edge of the pitcher's plate. He picks up and lowers his free foot twice in his delivery. Is this A, this is legal? B, this is illegal, and we will restart from scratch? C, this is an illegal pitch, and a ball will be added to the count. The correct answer here is C. This is an illegal pitch, and a ball will be added to the count. Case play number 7. A right-handed pitcher with a runner on third base engages the pitching plate with his pivot foot parallel to the pitcher's plate. His shoulders are squared to the plate, and his free foot is breaking the plane of the front edge of the pitcher's plate. He picks up and lowers his free foot twice in his delivery. Is this A, this is legal? B, this is illegal, and we will restart from scratch? C, this is an illegal pitch, and a ball will be added to the count? Or D, this is an illegal pitch and will be enforced as a balk. The correct answer here is D. This is an illegal pitch and will be enforced as a balk, scoring the runner from third. Now, this could have been handled with preventative officiating by enforcing this on the first pitch that he threw from the windup. If he's already in the windup with a runner on third base, he's already been pitching from it before, and we probably could have enforced it then or even warned him in the warm-ups and avoided a balk where we score the runner. That's why it's so important that we pay attention to the pitcher warming up before the inning starts, because that'll let us know, hey, he's going to do this illegal pitch. I need to be ready to enforce it from the start. Case play number 8. The hybrid stance is an alternative to the windup and set and is considered the same as the windup. True or false? The correct answer here is false. There is no hybrid stance. There is no declaring what you're in. You're either in the set or the windup, and it's entirely based on the positioning of your pivot foot. Case play number 9. Can a player be restricted to the dugout for unsportsmanlike behavior? The correct answer here is no. Players cannot be restricted to the dugout for sportsmanship issues. The only reason a player can be restricted to the dugout is if they're used as an illegal substitute. And the reason the NFHS has that as a restriction is that they don't want us ejecting players for mistakes that are made by the coaches. So for you as an umpire, the best way to handle sportsmanship issues, especially out of players that aren't in the game and are already in the dugout, we don't restrict someone already in the dugout. Instead, we get on the coach to either handle the dugout or we're going to restrict the coach to the dugout. Case play number 10. With the bases loaded, B4 hits a grand slam. His teammates come out of the dugout and celebrate with him around home plate, but after he touches the plate. Is this legal or illegal? The correct answer here is that this is legal. Because it's a home run that left the playing surface, it's a dead ball. During a dead ball, we don't have the same restrictions that keep the players in the dugout. So as long as they're coming out in a respectful manner, it's okay for them to celebrate the home run. Case play number 11. With the bases loaded, B4 hits a grand slam. His teammates come out of the dugout and celebrate with him around home plate, but after he touches the plate. One of the bench players brought out a crown to place on the batter's head after he crosses home. Is this legal or illegal? The correct answer here is that this is illegal. A crown is not proper equipment for any baseball player, and the result is going to be that the head coach should be restricted to the dugout. Case play number 12. With the bases loaded, B4 hits a grand slam. His teammates come out of the dugout and celebrate with him around home plate, but after he touches the plate. One of the bench players brings out a bucket, but doesn't do anything unsportsmanlike with it. Is this A, this is legal? B, this is illegal, the player is restricted to the dugout? C, this is illegal, the player is ejected? D, this is illegal, the player and head coach are ejected? E, this is illegal, the head coach is restricted to the dugout? F, this is illegal, the head coach is ejected. The correct answer here is E. This is illegal and the head coach is restricted to the dugout. So long as this is the first violation, that's the best penalty that we can use, is simply restricting the head coach to the dugout. Remember that it doesn't matter how the equipment is used when it's brought onto the field. Instead, any use of a prop, any bringing of it onto the field is going to be a penalty. And the best penalty here is to restrict the head coach to the dugout. Case play number 13. Which of the following uses of one-way electronic communications equipment are legal? Coach to catcher, coach to pitcher, coach to runner, catcher to pitcher. The only correct answer here is communication equipment going from the coach to the catcher. There's no other use of electronic communication devices that is legal in NFHS baseball. So there you have it, our review of the 2025 NFHS baseball points of emphasis. If you found this video helpful, be sure to...
Okay, so questions or comments about those things. All right, there is a little quiz on that pretty much has those same questions that I would like you to try at some point and see what you can do with it. You get a couple opportunities there, see if you can remember that stuff. All right. Remember, as far as the one-way communication, yeah, we're talking about like catcher's got a little earpiece or whatever he's got in, but it's still fine if like a shortstop, infield, or whatever has like the wristband thing on and all that. That's not the one-way communication. All that stuff is still fine if they want to use that. All right. They add the the one-way communication, because it does help speed some things up. Looks like we got some people doing some chat stuff, so let me look here.
Kevin, I got a quick question. This is Dave Turner.
Yes.
The wristband, I thought it was a point of emphasis of the last year, maybe the year before, that even the pitcher needs to have that on their arm and not on their belt loop. Is that still?
That is still there, yes. They did not change that. So if they have a wristband, it can't be like on their belt and things like that. It's got to be on the wrist. It's a wristband. And it can't be distracting. I think that's the other thing too, right? Like if it's all shiny or something, especially for the pitcher. I mean, if the shortstop, that's, one thing, but the pitcher, if he has it on there, it's got to be something that's not distracting as well. All right. And I believe I don't remember. I haven't read that rule since it came out. Did they say that the pitcher has to have it on his non-pitching hand? I would be pretty sure that you couldn't have the wristband on your pitching. I don't know why you want it on there anyway, but I think it's got to be on the non-pitching hand.
It would be helpful to know that, because also the color of it, because we can't have, a certain color, a white wristband.
Well, yeah, you obviously can't have gray or white on there. I mean,
Right.
but so usually they're black or something like that, or some darker color. Most often, 99% of the time, they're black. The problem is sometimes they'll have like a little protective kind of shield over it, transparent shield, so that, if it gets wet or something, it doesn't, they can still read it. And that could be a glare, potentially, if we got some sun out. So that's the issue. So if they turn it around, like, to the glare part that might be like on the bottom of their arm or something, then that can usually solve that too. All right. It's in there. I haven't read the rule, so I'm not going to try to quote you because I don't remember everything about it, but that is still there. Yes. Any other questions or comments? People, make sure you're looking at the stuff in the chat when you can. If there's something there that I'm not always looking at it, but if there's something specific, then come off of mute and ask it. People can kind of answer each other. Looks like people are doing that. I try to check it when I can. If somebody notices something that I need to address, make sure you tell me. Okay.
Somebody just said it can't be white or gray in color.
Yep, that's right.
And it has to be on the wrist. Because they flip, they flip them closed. I think as long as it's flipped closed, it's not white or gray, we're good, right?
Well, if you can't visibly see
white
or gray when he's pitching, then it should be okay. I don't know why you have an all black one and then be white or gray inside. I guess it's possible. But if it is, then that's okay as long as you don't see it, because that's the whole thing with pitchers, right? Same thing with the glove, right? No white or gray on the glove. Everybody else can have that if they want to, but so we're just concerned more about the pitcher than anything else for that stuff. All right. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen, for this stuff? Hopefully do the little quiz there. We're good with that. All right. Let's see here. I want to get this thing back to the top here. It's up here. Put this thing up there. Okay. Let's talk about some social media basics. All right. And this applies to any MHSAA sport you might be working, but of course we're talking about baseball, right? So there are some do's and don'ts of things you should do. You should consider social media communication as public at all times. I don't care what platform you're on. Somebody could see it or screenshot it or whatever, even if you create it in some private intention. If you're going to use social media in any form, consider your communication may be read by anyone at any time. You represent the whole officiating industry and your state association and your local association, your signers, your partners, so act accordingly. Promote officiating in a positive light and with a general feeling of pride and professionalism. You're an ambassador of officiating. So don't jump on some thing on Facebook and start ripping on people, okay? Even if they deserve it. Don't do it, all right? We don't do that. Maybe other people do, but here in the WMUA, we're not going to do that. You have a unique access information. The same ethical restrictions that apply to any form of public speech also apply to social media, and it's appropriate to communicate specifics. It's inappropriate to communicate specifics about your assignments, other officials, conferences, schools, coaches, players, or any related personnel. This is really the biggest issue here, all right? Don't put that you're working the game over at Granville on Thursday or something. Sometimes people get excited, especially like if you're newer and you got like some of your first varsity games or something, and you're excited about that. You can't put that stuff on there. Don't do it. All right. You can be excited with your friends and family or whatever, or your other officiating buddies, but you can't be putting what you're doing on there. All right, that's a big no-no. Do not engage in specific play or ruling, evaluation, or commentary, whether it be of a game you worked, one that you witnessed, or in general about the impact of officials in any sporting event. Now we see this happen all the time. There's lots of forums out there for people, particularly on Facebook, I see it, where people have, hey, here's this play. They show us some video, and then they, or they'll show something from a college game that has a completely different rule set than the high school one or a pro game, and they don't know what they're doing. And people just start flaming each other. All right. We want to stay out of that kind of stuff. We particularly want to stay out of that kind of stuff if it's stuff that's local. All right. It's one thing if it's happened out in California. That's bad enough, but we don't want local stuff like that happening. We certainly don't want to be ripping on our partners. We don't want to be dragging somebody, some kid or parent or coach or something from a school into the situation there. That could just be a whole big messy can of worms, right? And the MHSAA is going to come down on you if you're doing that, because this is like in their handbooks and stuff, right? Communication among officials for learning purposes should be done privately and not through the use of social media. That's why we have this kind of forum. We talk about stuff on here, that's fine, but we're not putting it on social media. Be mindful that email and other forms of direct communication can be made public. All right, this is in particular if you're, okay, yeah, I guess if you're ripping on your partner, he'd have that. But if you're blaming some school or you send something to an AD, and I've seen this happen, man, where some umpire goes off on some, buddy because of a situation that happened with a player or coach, whatever, you got to watch what you write because all this stuff can be shown to others, okay? Be very sparing in the sharing of your own personal info, including photos, adjust security settings, all that kind of stuff too. So if you put yourself out there too, people can figure things out. We don't want people to we're supposed to go in and do the best job we can and hopefully not be noticed and get out of there. This is not a profession or an avocation that we get a lot of rewards from. Sorry. If you're in it for that, then you're in it for the wrong reasons, okay? So hopefully your umpire partners and others will say you did a good job when you did, and you'll get you'll feel good about that. Hopefully that happens every once in a while. But that's it, man. You might go work a game and you just knocked it out of the park and nobody says anything, but you did a good job. That's it. We don't have to have we don't need anything else out there on it. Okay. So you gotta, you can't be looking for that praise. That's why we get off the field as soon as the game's over. Some guys like to chat up people. Man, you start chatting up people, they're going to start saying something negative, and then you never know what's going to happen. Get in and get out of there. Like I say, you don't stand around, waiting to sign autographs or something here. Okay, get out of there. All right. And nobody really wants to talk to us that much after the game. Talk to your partner in the parking lot. All right. So follow specific conference and school things as well. All right. So that's our general thing. Comments or questions about that? I'm sure there's something that somebody's got to say about this other than me. Because we had with this a little earlier. Go ahead. I thought I heard somebody talking. We're good. This has been a little minor issue here with a couple situations recently in the last few months. Okay, not like this week or something here in the WMUA. And it's always something out there. All right. So if you get the chance to work a state final in baseball, or probably in the other sports too, I've only done baseball, they specifically will tell you once you figure out okay, you're working the 2 games on Thursday and then a Saturday final or whatever, do not tell anybody. Don't tell them what games you're working or anything. And then the people in charge will say, if I see it, I remember Mark Yule saying it, if I see it on there, you're off the games. Okay. I mean, you can't do that. Can't tell them what's going on. Now, after the fact, if you put some pictures up of you working the game or whatever, that's fine if you want to do that, but not before, and you don't tell people where you're going to be. Okay? All right. I guess that's it. Nobody's got any questions or comments about that. I thought there would be some. We good? Okay. So keep that stuff in mind. The best thing you could do, which is really hard for people, is to not do any social media stuff. That's hard to do. I mean, I have some, don't get me wrong. I'm on there too, but to do nothing and say nothing and not go on there and put stuff on there about it. There is some good resources out there that can help you learn some things and be a better umpire. So that's worth it, but engaging in all the other shenanigans is not a good idea. Okay. Working the plate, something that makes or breaks us as an umpire, right? If you want to move up and you want to get more respect within the umpiring community, you want to have the respect of the coaches, you need to be a good ball strike umpire. Those are the guys that, people look to, all right? It is great to be a great base umpire, and there's a lot of skill that goes into that, whether it be 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, or whatever, to know the mechanics and be in the right spot and be set and making good calls and handling things well. That's all really, really important too. But not many people go, man, that guy's just a great base umpire. When they talk about a guy that's a really good umpire, he's usually a good plate umpire. All right. So that's what we're all striving for. And in order to do that, particularly for my new people out there, you got to work as many plates as you can. Dave Hedges and I were talking the other day about the 10,000 hour rule. It's hard to get 10,000 hours of umpiring in, but they say, the Malcolm Gladwell book from back in the day, that if you get 10,000 hours in any particular thing, then you're kind of like an expert at it, right? And he goes through all the examples. It's a good book, all right? The Outliers, all right? Check it out. But anyway, if the more umpiring we get and the more balls and strikes we call, the better we get. We see all these situations, and then some things start to become automated, and we become that really good umpire, the best umpire we can be. Some guys are just, just like in athletics, right? Some guys are more natural athletes, and they can hit the ball farther, and they can slam dunk, and they just have a better shot, and whatever it is for whatever sport. Same thing in umpiring. Some guys are just naturally a little better at it. They just naturally have a little bit better judgment. They naturally can get to the right spots at the right time and have better instincts. They have the it thing, right? But all of us can work to get as close to our perfection as we can, all right? And be the best umpire we can. I know everybody's like, well, I can work those games. I can do that. Well, I don't know. I mean, there's when you see it. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things here. Calling balls and strikes. I'm just going through the working the plate stuff here on the stuff here. All right, we got some pro guys here. Timing is our biggest thing. Timing is always our biggest thing in umpiring, or probably any sport. But like I say, I only work baseball. But I'm sure if you're officiating a basketball game, the timing you have for when you're calling fouls is really important. I know it's got to be, right? So it certainly is for us to accurately rule on pitches as well as plays. We need to have good timing. Good timing requires enough time to see the entirety of the play or the pitch, replay it in our head before making the call. All right. I'll get to you in just a second, Mr. Willis. When umpires are struggling, being too fast is usually the first problem in our mechanics. When we kick a play at first base, we're usually too fast. When we miss pitches, we're usually too quick. All right. Umpires are very often too quick, rarely too slow, and it will feel slow to you if you are somebody that's too fast, but the extra time will go unnoticed. Mr. Willis, please come off mute there and say whatever you got to say, man. I saw your hand up on the little thing there. I thought you had something. There it is. Make sure you're off mute. All right. Maybe your microphone's not working. If your microphone's not working, maybe you can put it in the chat. Somebody can share that with me in a second, if that works. All right. Well, I'm going to move on unless I hear you talking. All right. So calling balls, make sure, especially my new people, that we stay down when we call a ball. We come up when we call a strike. We always call a ball. We don't call as loudly as a strike, but we always say ball. All right. Because if we don't, and some people, this is always something I deal with every year with people like you say ball. Yeah. You have to call it a ball or a strike. And if you don't say anything, then you're gonna call more balls, because it's easy to say nothing. And nothing, according to the way you're doing it, is a ball, right? So on close pitches, the call needs to be firm, but not obvious, okay? Don't get in the habit of giving location. I kind of disagree with that. On certain times, it's okay to say a pitch is out, right? Or that it's up or down or something like that. That's okay if there's certain ones. I've got that out. Ball, I got that out. I do that. I don't think I have a problem with it. I think that catchers appreciate that. And then if a coach says something like, hey, where was that? He's like, it was out. Now, the catcher might disagree, thinking that it wasn't out, but he knows it was called a ball because you thought that it was outside. And that's what he's going to relate to his coach. You don't want him to go, I don't know. Like, where was that? I don't know. That's the worst thing you can have happen. I mean, the catcher shouldn't do that if he wants to be on your good side, but you want him to work with you, okay? So you give him the information that you got. whether he agrees or not. If somebody wrote something in the chat that I need to know, make sure you just come off of mute and tell me. 2 ways to call balls and strikes, the hammer or the point. Either one's fine. I use the hammer. That's why they give me that nickname. The point is what most people seem to use. It was more natural for me to do the hammer. This is the way the pro school guys teach them at first, and then they let them do the point stuff and everything later. All right. If you use the point, make sure that, like, this guy's looking away. He's kind of looking. I mean, he's a major league guy, so I'm not gonna like get on him here. But maybe there's nobody on base. But if there's people on base, you got to make sure that we're keeping our eyes looking at what's going on out on the field in case there's a play that we need to pull on. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. That's the only thing that can be a problem with guys doing the point is they start looking at their hand too much. All right. Calling strikes for calls, the plate umpire should stand up to get tall to make the call. If you're a short guy like me, that's really important. The voice mechanic is technically strike, but you can grunt it and verbalize it whatever way you want to make it seem confident, okay, and in your style. For new umpires, make the call with your eyes still on the baseball. Then turn your head when you point or come up to make your hammer call. And good timing is not between when the ball hits the glove and when you say strike. Good timing is between when the ball hits the glove and when you start to come up and then give your strike call. All right. And we'll work on this when we have stuff on the field, like next week and then in the clinic and things like that. Bad timing is visible to everyone. All right. And hopefully you'll recognize that when you see that. We have to have a strike 3 call. We always got to work on that, especially with our new people. And some of our veterans too. Your strike 3 calls can be improved. All right. And you guys can practice these things in mirrors and see what you can do. You got to get it to be natural for you. You don't have to think about how you're calling a third strike. You don't really want to have to think about how you're calling the strike. You just want to get it down and make it a habit. And then you just do it. You're just working the game and calling the balls and strikes. And then you have just those crisp mechanics. That's what we want to work toward. Okay. Foul tips. Remember foul tip. Comment here.
Yeah, just real quick, Kevin. When you guys are calling strikes and balls, it's very important that we can hear you and see that mechanic as your partner on the bases so that we know what that pitch was, so that we know what the count is. We could have a situation where, you know, the players think it's 3-2 and it's not, and they want to take off, and then we have a huge disaster. So very, very important that we have a voice and a mechanic that we can see and hear so that we know what the call was.
Yes, good point. Remember that they started doing the signals for balls and strikes and outs and everything in the early 1900s when we had a deaf player that was playing and he needed to know what they were. And then they kind of worked that. There was some professional umpires in the early, 20th century that started working these in, and they made it so that everybody in the stadium can see it. Because think about that. When you go to a Major League Baseball game or you go to the Whitecaps, even when there's 10,000 plus people there, everybody can watch the umpire and know what they called. That's the whole point. That's a beautiful thing. All right. So that's what we're trying to do. Everybody that's around, if we're doing things properly and crisply and properly, they will know what the call is. All right. They might not agree with it, but they'll know what the call is. Foul tips. New people. A foul tip and a foul ball are not the same thing. A foul tip is a live ball. Okay. And the signal is like you see right there, where you put the arm up and then you give the strike call. All right. So it was foul tipped into the catcher's glove and the ball is live. It's a strike and it's live. All right. If it's dropped by the catcher, then it's a foul ball and our hands go up. Sometimes I've seen umpires when they try to explain something, oh, that's a foul tip. And then it's like, really was a foul ball. I mean, there's a significant distinction between it and what can happen. I mean, somebody can steal second base on a foul tip. They can't steal second base on a foul ball. That's a big deal. All right. So make sure you know what one's what. Look it up in the rule book and make sure you're familiar with it. All right. In high school baseball, different from we have several people on here that work in collegiate baseball. A foul tip that is caught by the catcher needs to be sharp and direct to the glove. It can't be like college baseball where it might be sharp and direct off his mask or his shoulder or his shin guard and then caught by the catcher before it's the ground. That's still a foul tip in college baseball, but it's not in high school. They simplify it. All right. Sharp and direct to the glove. Boom. It's either catches or he doesn't. All right. If it goes off his mask, it's not. If it pops up in the air, it's not. Okay.
What
That's
about
what
to his hand?
his non gloved hand, you mean?
Non-glove. Sharp and direct to his hand.
Like he's using the old school two-handed thing and it goes off his hand, he's about ready to break his finger, that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know, I'm gonna say no, but I'm not sure. I
So
think it's
it used to be that it couldn't hit any equipment. It had to be
well,
sharp
maybe,
and direct to the glove or the hand.
well,
And
maybe it
then I-
is.
And
Maybe
then
it is. I don't see too
I
many.
saw a rule that said that it could deflect, which I thought was really weird. So I thought it had to be directly to the hand or the glove.
You probably are correct. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know if the hand is legal. It seems like it probably would be, I guess. But that's, you know.
It's not hitting
again, that's
equipment.
that
It's
stuff,
not
right?
hitting a face mask or a chest protector.
Yeah, it
or
can't be anything else. It's definitely glove. It could be the bare throwing hand as well, but I'm not sure. I haven't read that rule lately. So somebody can let us know if they look it up, all right?
So Kev, just
I know it's not like shin guard, face mask, chest protector, any of that.
Now, Kev, I got the, on page 32, Article 2, a foul tip is a batted ball that goes directly to the catcher's hands and is legally caught by the catcher. It is a strike and the ball is in play.
Okay, well, I would interpret that as the bare hand as well as the gloved hand.
Foul tip is batted ball that goes directly to the catcher's hands. And
Well, hands is plural there, so he's got two of them, I hope.
Yep, and is
It's gonna
legally
be hard for
caught
him
by
to
the
throw if
catcher.
he's only got one.
Breaking the ball is in play.
All right.
Can
That's
we
it.
clarify the
Get him out
bobbles
of it, I
then?
guess, but that'd be tough. Okay, so yeah, sounds like the bare hand is legal, though we see very few two-handed catchers anymore.
Kev,
Thanks.
can you clarify the bobbled ball? Can you clarify the bobbled ball though? Because that's one I just want to get clarification on. If it comes off the glove, pops in the air, you can't snatch out of the air?
Is that sharp and direct?
No.
Okay, then you clarified it.
Does it say sharp and direct anymore? Dave, in that ruling, does it say sharp and direct to the?
No, it says a foul tip is a batted ball that goes directly to the catcher's
Okay,
hand and is legal. It may say it, and I don't have the case book in my hand that goes along, but for everybody that's looking at it, it's rules 2:16:2, 2:16:2.
So it says direct? No, what does it say? Read it again, Dave.
Foul tip is a batted ball that goes directly to the catcher's hands and is legally caught by the catcher.
So from Michael, did the one that pops up, did that go directly to his glove? You would say no. So that's it. And if the coach is like, well, why it didn't go directly to his glove? We might not remember exactly what it said, but we hopefully will all now remember that it has to go direct. And if somebody asks us or questions us on it, we can kind of use that kind of verbiage, right? That's what we're looking for. We don't have to memorize it. It's fine if you can, you know, or whatever, if you can have it verbatim, if you got a memory like that. But if you have it pretty darn close, and the main verbiage of it, you're gonna be okay. All right. Okay, so that work, guys? Any other questions or comments about that stuff? These are things we've got to be thinking about as we start, hopefully, seeing some pitches before the season gets going. In just a couple or so short months. I've got a game scheduled on February 18th here in Michigan. That probably won't happen, but that's like about a month away. So you never know. We'll see. Sometimes we get some warm weather in February, right? Okay, so we have that. I got the plate meeting here, video. Okay, tack and slide. I got a short little thing here I want to show you on how we want to get in our positioning to see pitches. This is fairly short here. Let me get to it here after the ad.
Reimagine
Oh, there's my
exceptional
car.
with the 2024 Buick
Nice.
Envision.
Okay. All right,
Buick.
here we go.
In this video, we're going to break down
4
foot
minutes.
positioning when it comes to attacking the slot behind the plate. Now, this is a concept that I see a lot of umpires not implementing in their evaluations, and it can have a big impact on your ability to properly call balls and strikes. So in this video, we'll go back, review what proper foot positioning should look like, and see what you need to look for to implement it properly in your games.
Time tonight. Recipient of strike one.
Let's start by reviewing the proper positioning for the plate umpire. We did a full breakdown of the slot a few weeks ago in our video Own the Box, but let's focus now on feet positioning. First, we'll illustrate the concept using a right-handed batter. The plate umpire should have their head positioned in the slot, which is between the batter and the catcher and ensures a clear view of the pitch. To get this view, our plant foot should be positioned behind the catcher and our slot foot behind the batter. Ultimately, our goal is to be able to see the bottom and outside parts of the zone without being blocked out by the catcher. To do this, the further forward our head is, the better the view we get. And the best way to do this is to attack the slot, which starts from our foot positioning. The concept is a straight line from the toes of our plant foot should intersect with the arch or heel of our slot foot. This slight change moves our head up towards the plate to better see pitches while keeping our chest and body square to the pitcher to lower our chance of injuries. Now, this film here is an umpire getting a great heel to toe setup on a right-handed batter. As you can see, a line going from the toes of his plant foot comes to just about the back of his heel on his slot foot. And the ultimate benefit of this, as you can see, look how close the distance is from the back of the catcher's mask to the front of his. You can see by getting into the slot and pushing forward into it, he's able to get that distance down, which in turn opens up his vision to the outside part of the plate. Now, the issue I've been seeing with a lot of these umpires is that when the batter becomes a left-handed batter instead of a right-handed batter, they're not properly mirroring their footwork. So when the batter becomes left-handed, then our left foot becomes our plant foot behind the catcher, and the toes of that foot should break into the heel or instep of our slot foot, which should now be our right foot. As you can see in this example, see how much further back his head is from the catcher's because of not getting that proper footwork and attacking the slot. This is going to negatively impact his ability to see pitches on both the outside and lower parts of the plate. Now, here's another example of an umpire struggling with that transition over to left-handed batters. As you can see on right-handed batters, it's great footwork. He's really getting into the slot, getting a great view of the pitches, and that's something that we get very used to because a majority of the batters we're going to see are right-handed batters. So we learn how to do the proper footwork on righties, but when we transition to the left-handed footwork, you can see we lose that attack with our slot foot, and this really impacts the distance between his head and the catcher, which is going to impact his ability to see the outside and lower parts of the zone. So the important thing here is that even for experienced umpires, we need to really focus that on left-handed batters, we're making sure we're properly mirroring that footwork to attack the slot. So there you go. That's a quick review of attacking the slot and the importance of good footwork behind the plate. As I said, I've been seeing this issue in most of the games I've evaluated this year, so I'd strongly recommend everyone to at least think twice about their footwork for the next time they have a left-handed batter at the plate. Thanks again for watching and doing what you can to improve as an umpire. Be sure to check out our podcast starting in the coming weeks, designed to provide more content quickly and effectively, especially for those of you who don't get to spend much time working games with other umpires. So as always, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Okay, so hopefully that makes a little sense there. These are things that we'll work on in our, open like sessions, like at Jenison High School and also at the clinic, right, when we're working the plate. And these are things that I hope you guys are aware of when you're trying to get ready for the season and working those games. And as you're working the plate, you're trying to be conscious of that. I think left-handed to right-handed batters is kind of like if you're right-handed, like a lot of us are, and you try to do a left-handed layup, like in basketball, and like the proper way to maybe do a layup and the way your hands and feet and everything are supposed to go, but it's like opposite because it's not the same thing. And that seems to be the case a little bit with guys when they jump on the other side of the plate there with a lefty, because it just seems a little foreign to them, the way they're moving their feet. So you have to be conscious of that. You can make it work for you, but you have to really kind of pay attention, or at least early on, where your feet are. And the reason for when this happens, we seem to have a little bit different strike zone frequently for lefties. Usually a little bit wider on the corners for them because we're not in as good a position, and we seem to kind of guess sometimes on that outside corner a little bit, and it seems to be a little wider, and they get some crappy calls on them. Lefties seem to be used to this. It probably happens to them a lot. So, it's a 23-inch plate for them, I think. But, we want to try to make it legit and not rip them off. But if you watch games, and I'm sure some of you can attest that. I know I've done that. I've had to work at it, and I think I'm a lot better at it, but it's still something I have to fight every season to make sure I'm setting up properly for lefties and giving them a fair shake on the strike zone. Okay. Anybody else have any comments on that too, or have you experienced that?
Hey, Kevin, I got a question.
Yeah.
What I struggled with is I had a few games where the catcher was, 6'4", 250 pounds and he would slide over into my slot on a right-handed batter,
Mhm.
and I don't know where to go.
Well, we don't want to go to the outside for sure. That's the worst place to go because we're more likely to get hit there. And also we're not going to see as good a view. The best thing we can try to do is we go back a little bit and up and try to see what we can see, you know. And if it's something that's happening consistently, yeah, we're not trying to coach players. We're like, hey, I'm trying to get the best look for you. And I know you want to get where you need to be to help your pitcher. But if you're blocking me out, it's going to make it hard for me to get some of these strikes for you. So please work with me on that so I can get the best look I can. I mean, you have to work with your catcher there. He wants to get all the strikes he can. So if you say that you're trying to get the strikes and you need a good look, I got to be able to see it well to make the best calls I can for you. And you're kind of blocking me out sometimes. All right. So hopefully I'll be a little more aware of that and try to work with you. If not, then you do what you can. And then sometimes they're not going to get some of those borderline calls, I guess, right? Because you can't see it that well. But up a little bit and back. That's about all you can really do there.
Okay.
But
Thank
also
you.
any comments on that?
I struggle a little bit when he sets up on the outside and I'm exposed. You know, I'll have to wear 2 or 3 cups because
Yeah, we don't want to move with them. We want to stay where we're at. If we're on the inside there, we stay there. I know we feel like we might get drilled by something, but the safest place to be back there, remember, is in the slot. Especially the more up in the slot you are, more likely balls are going to go over you or on other sides. And you know, yeah, he might foul one off the handle of his bat or something like that, but that's a good place to be. So it doesn't feel like it at first. You do feel like you're exposed, but kind of keep your ground. Okay. It's okay to move with them a little bit if it seems appropriate, but we don't want to move out there just for protection. We don't want to move with them just for protection if we're in the spot that we need to be. All right.
well, like you, I'm vertically challenged, so some of these 10-year-olds are taller than me. So
Okay. Yeah, that's true. And they're not protecting you much anyway, some of them. So, you know, hopefully you can just catch the ball, right? But yeah, that's my suggestion on that. I understand that feeling because I felt that too. I'm sure others have as well. All right. So that's the calling balls and strike stuff. Check swings. Got a little bit on that here for you. So, and if this is the way this is where the high school rule reads: a strike is charged to the batter when a pitch is struck at and missed. Okay. The umpire in chief sometimes asks for aid from the base umpire when there's a question as to whether a batter's half swing is such as to be called a strike. As an aid in deciding, the umpire may note whether the swing carried the barrel of the bat past the body of the batter. But the final decision is based on whether the batter actually struck at the ball. Plate umpire may sometimes ask for help from a base umpire on check swings if the plate umpire originally rules the batter did not swing. So if he rules he didn't swing and he called the ball, then we can go. My new people, we never call it a strike and then go and see if he actually thought that he swung too. Okay, if you call the strike, that's what you got. Okay, and if you're confident in that, go with that call. All right. In college baseball, we're required, if the catcher asks, hey, can we check that? You have to go. We don't have to do that in high school baseball, but I do suggest that if he asks you to check, just check it. Who cares? All right. Your partner should be paying attention and see what he's got. If they don't like what the call is, you know, he calls it a strike, he calls it a ball, you know, he said gives the strike signal or the safe signal. That's arguing balls and strikes. We're not going to put up anything of that stuff. Feel free to give a ball strike warning if anybody complains about rulings on half swings. Okay, that's a big no-no. Don't let them do that. In my general rule of thumb and what they kind of do in college baseball, which I think works, we'll look back at this. If the barrel of the bat goes past his front hip, in my judgment, if I'm making the half swing decision and I'm on the bases, then I'm going to get that as a strike. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Barrel, you know, somewhere like past this front hip. I can't tell from here because we're behind him, but that looked like it could be, right? That's what I look for. Doesn't matter how far up and down he is in the box. Doesn't matter if some people are like, oh yeah, it goes past the front edge of the plate and all this other kind of stuff we used to say when we were kids and stuff. No, if he struck at it, he actually had to have enough of a swing to try to make a movement toward the ball. And that is what it says in the college rule book. And that's what I go with. I think it works. Okay. So that's what I got for you.
I got something.
What's that?
Just a little minor tidy up way is typically when you are asked, when you're asked to check on a swing, catchers need to understand that the proper protocol is the catcher asks the plate umpire, and then the plate umpire asks the partner, versus the catcher just pointing at the partner. That could be just a little cleanup thing you talk about in pregame. Hey, we do have a check swing, and it's going to happen a whole lot for the sub-varsity kids. You just remind them, hey, how we do it is you ask me, and then I'll ask my partner, because more experienced umpires, that catcher's going to point to that partner down there, and he's going to get nothing, and then it's going to look like we're being jerks.
Yeah.
Whereas we say,
Well, the
"Hey, you
appeal
gotta
is supposed
ask
to
me,
come
not
from the
ask
plate
me."
umpire, not from the head coach. Well, they can ask for it, but yeah, it's got to be directed, and you get a left-handed point from the plate umpire. Hey, did he go? Malik, did he go? And he gives a ruling. All right. If the catcher just keeps pointing down, then you probably should say something like, "Did you want me to check that?" Yes. Okay. Then you do it. Help them along there if you can. We don't want to be jerks about it. Okay.
Kevin.
So get help when you can. I don't think we should. Okay, if the guy barely moves it off his shoulder and they want help, okay, they're being ridiculous. Yeah, you don't have to do that. But if there's any reasonable doubt, yeah, sure, just do it. No big deal, right? We can do that. Times to do it without anybody asking you, 3-2 count, okay, or there's runners on base, and people need to know if it's a strike or a ball. If you're the plate umpire, go right away. Don't need to wait. If you're like, man, he checked the swing, I don't know if that's a swing or not. Did he go? Point right at your partner, let him rule, and then everybody knows if it's a ball or strike or whatever they got to do so they can react properly. All right. So it's fine for you to initiate it on situations like that where it's real important. If nobody's on base, okay, that's fine. But like he checks his swing and it's a wild pitch and it's getting away from the catcher and the guy might have to run or not, and you don't know if did he go? Yes, he did. Okay, now they got to get him out at first base. Or nope, he didn't go. It's ball 4. Okay, we know what's happening. So be proactive in that stuff. Okay. Real quick here before I move on here, we have our word to get you the attendance. All right. So the word, I think it's going to be in the chat. Is play ball. Play ball. You have to email that with your name, of course, so that they know who to give the attendance credit to WMUABaseball@gmail.com. And I believe Vanderline put this also in the chat in case you need to do that. All right. So play ball is the word, WMUABaseball@gmail.com, and then you'll have the attendance. All righty. Vanderline, you were saying something about B and C position. Would you want me to address with that? Let me know here. Maybe he's coming on here in a sec here. If you're there, buddy. Maybe he jumped on the other meeting for a second. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in, I think he's talking about if you're in B or C position.
Yes.
If you have to rule on it, and you just give the best call you can. We always give the best call we can, whatever we think it is, whether in A, B, or C. And we're not trying to like, oh, well, he called it this, I'm going to try to stick with whatever he's got. No, just call it. Call what you have. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter if you're in B and C and they're like, how can you see that from? Well, I've got to make a judgment of whether he swung or not. You know what? Sometimes in B and C, you have a decent look, better than some of these players and coaches think, okay, that have never been out there, right? You can tell sometimes if the guy swung or not, all right? Yeah, it's not always the best, it's better to be right down the line, but you can get a look, all right? So just rule it the best you can. And if people give you crap about it, don't be afraid to give them a ball strike warning, because it is arguing balls and strikes, all right? See here, the proper mechanics there. This must have been a situation where maybe it was close or whatever, and he's, point. Of course, you want to try to point with your left hand, because if you point with your right hand, it looks like you might be calling a strike or something. So if you're a plate umpire, point your left hand at your partner, and he can give you his safe sign or his strike sign. All right? That's how it's supposed to go there. All righty? Hopefully that works. Any questions or comments about that? All right. I think I might just have one other thing here real quickly. Let's see here. To check swings. We got to remember, I got a little calling balls and strikes quiz. I hope you guys will try to do. I got a little check swings quiz. I hope you'll try to do. I got these other quizzes. Hopefully you'll try to do these quizzes, right? positioning behind plate, they kind of talked about that with the slot. You know, we want good head height where our chin is above the top of the catcher's head as much as possible, so we can see over that and get a good angle on things. Visibility, this is what they show here. This is what we're looking for, this green area. See how his chin is there? He's got a good look. He can see the outside as needed because his eyes can see over the head there, and he's got a good look at the plate. And hopefully he'll be consistent with his calls, right? That's what we're shooting for. He talked about the foot position and all that, but we're looking for that slot position, all right? And then you see where his foot is there and the slot foot, how it's up there with the heel to toe kind of stuff there, all right? Same type of thing. You can look at these later, especially my newer people as needed. That's what we're shooting for. It'll be easier on your dominant side, whether you're left or right-handed. Usually for most people, it's easier on this side with the right-handed batters for some reason, all right? So again, here's the head height. This is really important. We got a lot of guys drifting down, and you're going to block yourself off of the outside. You're looking through his body. We're not Superman with X-ray vision, so it's hard for us to do that. This is the way it kind of looks from, you know, we got those eyes and everything. We're trying to get, his chin is pretty dang close there, but, you know, we need those eyes and the chin to stay above. For shorter guys like me, that's tougher to do. If you're a taller guy, sometimes a little bit easier, all right? But we want to try to set up with that same kind of head height every time so that the pitches look similar to us so we can make consistent judgments. We're trying to do things in a very uniform manner as much as possible. Locking in, he's locking in right here on his hips. This guy's locking in on his knees a little bit. Some guys will lock in behind their knees because they want to protect their hands. That's what I do, like he does right here, right? So we get that. So we're not getting too low or too high all the time. Sometimes we have to adjust because of what the catcher is doing, like we said, but we want to try to be in consistently the same spot so that we have a consistent look every time. And so if somebody throws the same pitch, we can call it the same way, right? If we're all up and down, moving all over in different ways, it's going to make it look a little different to us and we won't be as consistent. All right. So you can practice these things. I mentioned that in the mirror, how it looks and everything. That's fine to do. You know, do it when nobody else is around, I guess, if you're self-conscious about it. All right. How's that? Kind of makes some sense. There's a little quiz on that too that I put on there. I've been doing a lot of work on here for you. So hopefully you'll do them. They won't take too long to do. And then working to play like a pro, last stuff here. Little tips and tricks. Okay, some people wear a bucket, that's fine, but if you're wearing a hat and mask like a lot of people do, your hat is always pointed, the bill pointed forward. You got to work on being able to keep it on your head and take the mask off without the hat falling off, and that takes practice. You can sit there watching TV and do that, okay? I mean, do it until you can get it right. There's techniques for doing that, and we can talk about that in our training sessions if you want. Ball bags, you can wear one or two. I wear two because I think it looks a little bit better, but, you know, do whatever you want to do. If you wear one, wear it on your dominant hand side, all right? Ball bags should be worn around the second belt loop from the buckle, not the first, right? They're on your side. Indicator's always in your left hand, whether you're right or left-handed. You don't want to be looking at it every time. We'll talk about that stuff later. Make sure you have a plate brush. You can keep it in your back pocket or the ball bag. I keep mine in my back pocket. A lot of people keep it in the ball bag. All right. You need some kind of pen or lineup card holder. There's several of them out there, some better than others. We can talk about that later if you need some assistance with that. But you got to have something so you can keep track of things on the lineup. When you are cleaning the plate, your butt's facing the pitcher's mound, right? Like so. All right. There's a way to do that. You don't ever face the stands. Ball management. Don't ever try to. It's hard in high school games, especially sub-varsity games, because they do run out of baseballs. But if they're keeping them going, make sure you let people know, I don't have any more baseballs. I have one baseball left. You know, hey, you know, we need to make sure we're getting these baseballs. Please give me some playable baseballs. Whatever you got to do. Start with at least 3. Take every baseball that they give you because they'll go away. They get fouled off. They get lost. All that kind of stuff happens. All right. Between pitches, try to relax. Don't get all stiff out there. Use a consistent cadence, right? Have a, you know, you're kind of doing the similar type of thing every time, and that'll help you to be more consistent too. When the pitcher is on the rubber, when he engages it, we should then step into the slot, get our feet set, get our chest upright, be ready to go, crouch down, call the pitch, and then do it over and over again, all right? It's okay, especially my newer people, to get set a little bit earlier once you get used to it. So you don't want to be trying to get set when the pitch is like almost coming. That's going to cause you trouble. But we'll talk about that in our training as well. All right. Okay, so there's some basic stuff there. There's some other videos out there that you can watch on your own that I put on here. you can see there's a couple of them on, there's a couple other videos up here that will help you out too. All right. Plate meeting one in particular, my new people. See these that little asterisk there? All these little asterisk things are good for everybody, but particularly good for newer people. So you should definitely try to watch those. All right. That's the stuff I've got tonight. I had a little thing on the plate meeting. I don't think I need to do that. I know we have it until like 9 o'clock, but I'm thinking 8:30 was what I was shooting for because that's what I thought before, and that's what I have, unless we have any questions or comments about anything.
Hey, Kevin, I just need
what's that?
just off topic real quick. I'm looking to break the bank on a mask. And I'm looking at the Force 3. Does anybody have any recommendations on?
I have Force 3. I've had two Force 3s. I love my Force 3.
Amazing masks.
All right. So
they're expensive, but they're worth it, and they definitely have saved me from concussions.
I love the Force 3.
Me too.
Get the unobtainium model of it. Titanium unobtainium.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
I also have Force 3 shin guards and chest protector, and I really like those as well. They're very, very good. All right. So yeah, I recommend those if you want to spend the money on them. Umpire equipment is really expensive, but you get what you pay for sometimes. And you want to be safe. And hopefully you have a wife like mine that says, well, I want you to be safer and I don't want you to get a concussion. So if you got to buy the more expensive stuff, then you do it, right? So, and that's how you can sell it to your wife if she's not behind you.
Kevin, will we ever
You want me to
talk
get a
about?
concussion and be a vegetable the rest of my life? No. Okay, well then I'm buying this mask. Okay, thanks.
Will we ever talk about uniforms? Color of pants, whether we can wear a jacket at the plate on a blustery day. Are we ever going to talk about that, or how?
I talked about it last week in the rookie meeting, but I can talk about it real quickly right now too. So jackets are on the field. That's fine. Yeah, you should definitely wear jackets. There's the
two of them.
Navy jackets. What's that? Somebody's gonna say something.
There's two of them there, the light one and the heavy one.
Yep, there's like the pullover kind of windbreaker kind of one, which is fine. And then there's the more thermal one. I have both of them. And sometimes you definitely early in the season need those thicker jackets, especially if it's windy, because the wind is what gets you. So I suggest that those are fine on the bases. On the plate, you're not really supposed to wear a jacket. It's not like it's against the rules or the protocols, but it's kind of the umpire code that you can wear long sleeves on the plate or short sleeves, but you don't wear a jacket or a pullover. Some guys do that because that's what they got, but it's kind of frowned upon, I guess. On the bases, you don't wear a long sleeve shirt either. You wear a jacket. If it's cold enough that you got to wear sleeves, then you wear a jacket. All right, so you should get a jacket.
Kevin, have you talked
supposed to have the
about?
MHSAA logo thing on it. Jackets should, but I don't know if they have to. I think they're supposed to. I'm not sure.
Have you talked about where to get the logo approved items?
Yes, I have that in one of the uniform basic stuff. I think I have it up here near the top on the, and I talked about that in the rookie meeting for different guys too. Anytime canvas stuff here. Let me see if I got it here.
The old Monopoly.
It's the Monopoly. It's correct call officiating.
Yes, well, correct call officiating is the main place. There's other places to get lots of other equipment too. Maybe amateur uniform basics. Here we go. So up near the top under the uniform basics, there's some links to all the different places, and correct calls is one of them. All right. So that's up near the top of the canvas page. Like I say, people have been putting some work into it. So look at it. All right. I try to think of all the stuff, and if I'm missing something, let me know, and I'll add something on here for it. Does that answer your question there, Mr. Byrne?
I think he asked about pants too, ball bags. I think you said something.
So ball bags can be gray or navy. Get navy. Gray fades different than your pants and looks crappy. All right, though it's okay.
So not black ball bags?
No, black is against the MHSAA code, so you can't wear black. You got to have navy.
So
All right.
Blue neoprene are okay.
Navy neoprene.
I'm sorry, blue navy, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, those are fine. Pants, yeah, you can wear heather or heather gray or charcoal gray, but don't get heather because it looks like you're a softball umpire. It doesn't look good. So get charcoal gray pants.
Kirk already yelled at me about the heather.
All right. Don't get combo pants. Get a set of plate pants and a set of base pants. Have plate pants hemmed slightly longer than your base pants because you have shin guards on them. You can, if you want to have somebody do it, then take your pants there and put the shin guards on and do what you got to do. Or, you know, just go an inch longer, at least an inch, I would say. Okay. Otherwise, if it looks too short, it's like you got a flood coming and you look kind of crappy. All right. Because I know it's like, oh, well, you just look crappy. It's about to stop. Well, how you look out there, if you look professional, that makes a difference. You can buy yourself a couple of innings by just looking good out there. All right. And then they might figure out you suck, but you know, at least you look good for so maybe you'll get better. All right. All right. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
For that matter, we've got open floor here for the last few minutes here on anything else as well, because I've covered the materials that I wanted to. I think I did enough there. So, so Mr. Barton, we're good there. Okay.
Kevin,
yeah.
question about qualifying for state tournament games. Is it 12 contests or 12 dates? I mean, 12
games.
Okay. So if you got 11 double headers, you're still good.
Yeah, you got 22 games.
Okay. That's what I want to check on.
Yeah. I teach English. I used to teach English, but now I just teach history, but I can do that math. Yes. You're good to go.
Math is hard.
And that is for things past districts as well. All right. I think I don't know if it applies to the districts. I don't think it does, but like the state's going to look at that because like I assign the districts. Right? The schools have me assign umpires to their districts, but regional and onward up to the state tournament.
Yep.
That's all from Lansing, from the MHSAA. The people there decide who gets assigned. I make recommendations. I have a big list of people I recommend, which is a pretty big list. It's pretty inclusive. And then they make their decisions based on whatever they want to do. It could be a little bit of several things. All right. So I don't know exactly what it is. I've heard things, but I don't know for sure. All right. But I don't make those decisions. I just do districts. All right. In districts where they are this year on our area, they did just the last couple of days post them on the MHSAA website. So you can look there and see where districts are in our area if you're interested to look. All right. I have not made any district assignments or anything like that. That'll be coming down the road. And, I want to see people. I want to see, some guys to see if they get better or worse, I guess, too, but hopefully better. And, I try to give people opportunities when I can. The thing about, districts are usually on Saturday. There's always a couple played on Friday. But they always have pre-districts as well when they have more than 4 teams, like if they have 5 or 6 teams in a district. And so they got to play a game on a Tuesday or Wednesday so it gets to the weekend. And those games count too. So sometimes I work guys that maybe haven't worked districts into some of those. But, I do what I can. I want people to move along the best they can if they're ready for it, right? Not all districts are made the same.
Kevin mentioned that pay went up.
Yes, the pay is like what I think we got that. So I think it's like $100 a game. It used to, I think last year was what, 65 or something?
Yeah.
So we're making $100 a game for varsity, and then we go work at district for $65. Okay, but anyway, it's 100 now, so that's good. So yeah. Anyway, districts will be coming down the line, and then probably after the season starts. Okay, I'll start looking at that stuff. To be honest with you, for people that are wondering, I know some people might work a district for a different assigner, like Hawkins or somewhere down 131 down that way and stuff. But I would like to have an opportunity, for those kind of guys that have worked districts for a while to have a shot for you. So make sure you talk to me if you're thinking about that and give me a shot. All right. All right. So there was that. Any other questions? Could be some arbiter things too, I guess.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'll just, because it has happened to me, if you want to work districts in our area for Kevin, I'm going to tell you to go in and block your other assigners.
Yeah.
Because there are 2 assigners that I work for that will be putting those out next week. And it's like, well, don't do that to me. So that's my advice.
So how do you do that? All right, let's see here. Let me go in here. I'll look at some stuff here.
Right
so
there.
You go into your blocks, like right here. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you got all your groups over here, right? And you can go, let's say I'm going to block tomorrow because, that doesn't matter. So over here, I could do block all day. And let's say I didn't want to block the WMUA. I wanted to block all these other ones, right? I just uncheck WMUA, block all day, and then boom, I got it blocked. Okay. But you notice there's no WMUA on here, right? Because it's open. I mean, I could get assigned a game tomorrow, all right? But everything else shows me blocked. That's how you do it, all right? And that's what happens when we send you a game and you're like, I had that blocked. No, you didn't, okay? You might have blocked it for MMOA. That's Calkins right there. But you didn't block it for WMUA because you showed open, okay? We can override blocks, but it takes us some time and effort to do that. It's, it takes several more steps. So we look at it, and if you're showing up there, we might assign you that game. And if you show up and you thought you had a block, that was on you. Okay, does that make sense to people? All right. Remember other things too. What's
go
that?
ahead. No, I just need a second when you're done.
Okay. Travel limits too. Try to give us, like, hey, this is my college travel limits, but you might have like 30 miles or something like that, or whatever it is. You're gonna put your postal code in there, and the distance you can go. It might be different on different days of the week. Obviously, we don't really have games on Sundays, but whatever. Make sure you put that in there too. You guys can, block teams and stuff. You can block, whatever you want. All right. But the more you block, the less likely you are going to get as many games as you might want. Okay.
You can put travel distances per group also.
You can do it for each group. You can block specific teams, like just home or just away. Those with the conflict of interest thing, because you have a connection to a school, you got to go in there and go to the teams and do that. All right. Make sure you take care of that stuff. And that helps us all out down the road. All right. And then obviously block other things like birthdays and days you need off and things like that. All right. So hopefully that makes sense for how you do different things for different assigners. So it's all about the groups and the check marks and all that stuff over there. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments about anything at all? Vanderline's got stuff. He's got Vanderline. Go ahead. Say what you got to say, man.
All right, guys, I know you got probably an email from me. I think it was yesterday or the day before, or this morning. I'm sorry. There was some arbiter issues. I guess there was like 200 plus games where people weren't getting notifications, and I got that from multiple people. So obviously I called arbiter. I think it's fixed, but don't trust me or arbiter. I would probably definitely check every morning when you get up, just to go in there and see if you have new games. There are still a lot of games out there because people, I'm going to let this one go for a few days because a lot of people didn't get the notifications, but a lot of games are going past the, I guess it'll be like a wait time. I think it's set for 5 days, right, Kevin? I think
it is.
Yeah.
Like
You really should, if your blocks are up to date, like Kevin just explained, all those different kind of blocks, there really isn't no, reason for you not to accept the game. And I've been getting some really good doozies of why people aren't accepting games. You just don't want to be that guy after a while. I kind of, after about the 10th one, you kind of get put on the, I don't want to say it list, but, it just kind of makes me go back and or Kevin go back and do more work. And
Vanderline and I talk too. I mean, so if you're one of those dudes that's, being a problem with him too, I hear about it. Okay. So, and vice versa. All right.
I mean, I'm trying to even it out. Trust me, guys, I have JV and freshman games, and I get it. Nobody wants to do the freshman games. I mean, everyone, you just got to earn your time. Trust me, me and Kevin, we worked at the bottom for a long time until you get moved up. But I know Kevin's, he does the varsity, and I do the JV freshman. Just, work hard and you'll move up. Trust me. But still, I just need you guys to accept the games. And until maybe this arbiter thing is really worked out, I would check every morning if you have new games, and hopefully accept them right away. And that just helps me out tremendously, and I would really appreciate it. So that's really all I got to say. So hopefully they got it fixed.
Yeah, arbiter has problems every so often, but they usually figure it out. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? It could be anything at all. And before we wrap this up.
Kevin, I need you to stay on too. Don't hang up.
Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. Make sure that you're doing some of the quizzes and stuff on there. Hopefully a lot of you guys are showing up next Wednesday out at Jennison at the new field house, and we'll be doing some things on there that hopefully will be more hands-on and help some people, particularly our newer people. Try to bring, if you can, if you have a baseball glove, bring it, because we might be doing some fielding stuff. It might be useful to have a glove or something. I don't know if we need baseballs, but I think we probably have baseballs. We have baseballs, Hedges. Probably be okay with that, or we think we need that, but definitely some gloves.
Yeah, I'll bring a half dozen baseballs.
Oh,
Okay.
I got boxes of them. They're brand new.
Okay, so a glove or something could be helpfiel in case we got, field some ground balls and throw them or something like that, whatever, that kind of thing. So, all right. And hopefully I see you guys there and we'll do what we can. Now, next Wednesday, I have, I think we start, is it 5:30, Hedges? Is that where we're starting?
5:30 to 8:30.
5:30 to 8:30, but we're going to be done before 8 because
Yes.
I got to start driving home because I've got a Zoom meeting I've got to do that starts at 8. All right. And I'll probably have to do it in my car on the way back. But I think 2.5 hours will probably be all right. Okay.
All right. I'll change those hours on the website.
Yeah. Well, we'll be done by 8 or maybe just a few minutes before so I can get my car and get on the Zoom. I'm lucky enough to work a few games with Replay, Big Ten non-cons, and they have a whole Zoom meeting on that's at 8 o'clock next Wednesday. All right. Which I just found out about. So I got to be on that. All right. So if that's that, then we're out of here and you guys can just log out. I got to stay on here so you can just kind of, leave the meeting or whatever. And I'll talk to you later.
Don't forget to send your the code word to
Look
the
in the
email.
chat before you leave. Make sure you got the secret word and send that to that email. All right.
Eddie, are you still on?
I'm still on here. What?
No, I know. Eddie Garcia Eddie and Norhe have a question on one of your quiz questions. Eddie, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Kevin, I didn't want to mention this in front of everybody because I don't want to be that new guy jerk or anything. But I've been doing all your quizzes. First of all, I love them. They're actually really cool. I think I may have found an error in one of them that I wanted to let you know about.
Was it one where I had the double answer for the one last week?
So that's one of them.
Yeah, I fixed that already.
Okay, I think I just did that one today or yesterday.
I fixed that one already.
And I got it wrong.
Again,
but there's
right answer twice.
The one that I noticed both Norte and I did, and we both got wrong, is the plate positioning quiz.
Lineup. Yeah.
And it's
something about lining up.
Yeah, so the toe to heel.
Okay. All right. If you could just shoot me an email when you get a chance and tell me which one it is.
Okay.
Just kind of type it out real quick, and then I'm going to change it. Otherwise, I won't remember. But if you tell me just give me some basic. You don't have to quote the whole thing or something, but just kind of tell me what it is, what I should look for, and I'll try to go in and correct it.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because like I say, I got to type these things out or copy and paste them and make them all, and
Oh, hey, I'm a teacher too, and I know how it goes.
And I tell my students too because I do this stuff for that, and it's just tell me. I mean, if I got, I want to fix it, right?
So I got to do the same thing, and so I'm always like, all right, if you guys know that I messed one up, let me know because then I can fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know there's probably some other mistakes, and I just have to correct it, and then it'll be good for the future. But yeah, just shoot me a quick email when you get a chance and tell me which ones they are, and I'll go in and fix them probably tomorrow. But
all right, cool. The thing on Arbor that I told you about with the cell phone numbers, they corrected it.
Okay, awesome.
So I checked it again after I talked to you after last week's meeting, and it was fine. It was fine already. So they must have fixed it on their own.
Yeah, Arbor is weird that way. Sometimes.
And then there was no issues with parent teacher conferences because they're in February, so no worries.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear from you, so I figured it's probably all right.
It's all good. Thanks, man. That's all I had.
Yep. All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Eddie. Hey guys. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, how do you think it went? Do you think it went okay?
Do I think it went okay?
Are you still there?
Yeah, I thought it went fantastic. Great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. No. All right. So you guys are going 5:30. Okay. So I got to change. Not like it really matters, but I will change that because I'll send out a. Oh wait, I think David's sending out. No, I don't know if David was sending something out or not, but oh well. I'll just send them out because I've been doing it anyway. So okay, 5:30. All right.
Kevin, are you there?
I'm here.
Kevin?
Yes.
Or Kurt, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm
Hey,
here.
I got an email about not accepting a game, and I've only had one game, and you assigned it to me on, I think, Sunday.
Okay. If you read, trust me. The email really
Okay,
it just set
sorry.
up that I sent it out to everybody and I just said it says you may or may not have
Oh,
issues. And if
okay.
it says pending, or I'm sorry, pending, no, I'm sorry, not pending, published or notified. If it says
Okay.
notified, that means you looked at it. But if it says published, it
Right.
means you just haven't. If it says one of those two, you got to do something. Now, if they all say
Right,
accepted,
right,
then you're fine. Like I said,
right,
Arbiter, they
right.
were just having some issues. They
Okay.
had the same
I just
issues
wanted to
last
make
year.
sure because I do check it every morning
Okay.
because I get it pushed to my email, and as soon as my email pops up that I have a game, I usually click in it and try to accept it or decline
Right.
it. But
Like, yeah.
in my
Like right
case,
now,
I
I'm
haven't
not getting,
declined
yeah.
anybody. So
I'm not getting
I just
notifications on my phone, like by text, which I used to. I don't know what's going on. I can't get that fixed either. So
okay.
until Arbiter gets it fixed, you kind of gotta look into all of them. So
Yep. Nope. I check it every morning, so I just want to make sure that I wasn't making you
and keep,
mad or anything like
no,
that.
no, no.
So
It was just I woke up this morning. I had over 200 games that went past the 5 days. I'm like, what in the world's going on?
okay.
And then I talked to a few people and they said they weren't getting the notification. So I'm like, shit. So I called Arbiter and they're looking, trying to fix it, which they know it's an issue. Kevin didn't seem to have issues with his. I don't know. I double checked everything.
And today I was lucky enough to get a couple college games, and it came through on Arbiter. And I got the text message and the email.
Yeah,
And
see, it
so
blows
I
my
don't know.
mind. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but yeah, just keep checking on those. Don't worry, there's plenty of games out there. I only have one bad day. I think it's April 8th is so far is my only bad day. So I don't have too much.
Send it to me. I don't think I have it blocked, but if I do, I'll check it. So
No, seriously, February 8th is, and I'm sure I'm gonna have more, but it's just one of those days where everybody seems to be busy working or they have it off for what I don't know what February or May 8th is, or April 8th, I think it is. But
it's not April because I think that's spring break. It must be May.
no, yeah, it's May 8th. Yeah, it's just I'm like, holy cow. I even opened it up to my non-WMUA people, the next group of people, and there's still nobody. I'm like, holy cow. So I don't know. It's one of
if
those
it's May
things.
8th, send it to me unless I've got a game signed through Kevin. So
Well, yeah, I see whatever. Yeah, see, Kevin did his stuff first. I had to wait for Kevin to get done, and then obviously our varsity is more important than JV and freshman. So, and then like I said, the freshman games I kind of give to my 300 and 400s, and then 100, which I believe you're 100, and so I mean it's just I try to even it out, and I don't like to see people drive more than 30 minutes. I think Kevin talked about that too. You're in the car for 20 minutes, you're like, holy shit, it's a long ways there. You're not even there yet.
right.
So yeah, it's going all right. It's just I don't know what I have, like 800 games. It's just in Mother Nature.
That sub varsity is a tough gig, man.
And in Mother Nature, and they keep adding games. I think I don't know. We get emails like every day. They want to add. I think they play too many games.
And the problem is, like, you get it. Like, if I get a new game and somehow if it's May 8th, well, I just take somebody off of JV and put them on the varsity. But you can't do that,
No,
You're
yeah.
the
So
one.
no, yeah. I mean,
So-
our varsity games are more important. So I mean, that's the thing. So, but it's going so far. All right. I mean, it's one of those things. We'll see what Mother Nature has to say to us in the spring. But it could be fun. Hopefully, more and more schools get turf.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Norm. I'm coming next week to Jenison, but I have a middle school girls basketball game to officiate, so I may not be there till 6:15, 6:30.
Okay, that's fine.
Still hitting that basketball, huh, Norm?
Yep.
Hey, how was Hawaii, Norm?
How you doing?
How was Hawaii?
Hawaii was wonderful. 80 degrees. Missed it one day while we were at Pearl Harbor. Disneyland was cooler. It was in the 60s.
Okay. All right. I think we're all good.
Kurt.
Then. All right.
Kurt, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, Kevin, but for both you guys, this is Bomarito.
Yep.
So obviously, Kurt, you called me out on it. You're right. I blocked everything because my twins are seniors and are going to graduate. So I'm still, obviously I paid everything. Just I'll be one of those guys where it's like, okay, I'll open up these dates and I'll let you know. So if I know I won't get very many games because of it, but just know that I have it blocked for a reason because they're going to do track and they've got graduation stuff. So I'm just going to be one of those guys where it's like, hey, I got this date open. If you want me to do something, just let me know. So I don't care if it's freshman, JV, or varsity. It does not matter. Just wherever I can help you guys. I just want to let you guys know so that you're not like, geez, man, this guy's never open. There's a reason because I'm not going to miss anything with the Twins. So,
All right.
Family comes first, buddy.
yeah. So again, but it'll be right up till last minute. I'll open up a game some days or something, but just know I'll take whatever I can get. I don't care. Put me with someone, I'll help them. So just letting you guys know. Thanks for everything. Good job today, Kevin.
Thanks.
All right, I think we're good. Anybody else? I don't know who's still on this thing, but good. I think we're good. All right, see you, Kev. I'll see you Sunday, wherever that place, right? What time?
Yeah. I don't know. What time you thinking? I mean, 5 at the late, what, 4:30, 5 o'clock?
What time's the meeting? Is the meeting at 6?
6. What do you think?
I don't know. I
It's
want
right
to rush.
by it. It's real close. It's like a couple minutes.
4:30?
4:30. Okay, we'll do that.
All right, 4:30.
All right, sounds good.
Yep, bye.
All right, I'm in this thing, people.
Yep.